on a one and a two and a hello and welcome to another episode of Nerds and Words. I have the distinct honor of being your host today, Tim Allen 1337, and joined as always with Moreland TV.
Hello.
And the formidable Potion Shop TV.
Hello.
We took a quick 1 month break off the podcast for things that are mostly my fault, but we're going to glaze right over all of that and just get right into BDO, as we have missed quite a few weeks and we've got a lot to go over, and our opinions are extremely important, so they need to be heard. But before we get into that, if we all want to catch up just a little bit on what we've been up to, into or outside of the game, whatever we so desire or feel like sharing. Moreland TV, how have you been the past couple of weeks, bud?
Pretty good. I got a new PC. It runs the game very good. I still need a new video card, but just mainly the CPU has been a huge improvement. I can siege, well, not siege, but I can node war with pretty much no massive freezing and bullshit. So that's been pretty crazy. Too bad the node war scene is still kind of meh, but the fights we have been getting, it's been running a lot better. I also switched over to Awakening, so I'm relearning that. Doing a bunch of enhancing, trying to catch up in gear. Yeah, it's been busy.
How's the Awakening thing going?
It's going okay. I have a lot of like old bad habits from 2 years ago that I need to unlearn that I don't need anymore, like certain like C swaps and stuff that you don't have to do because skills just swap themselves now. It's actually hugely improved, but it's going to take me a while to relearn everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, Grats, when do you get a new when do you think you'll get it? Have you bought a bot for a video card, or?
I don't know, dude. I'm in like 3 different alert discords, but every time the alert goes off, I'm like in the middle of a stream. Yeah, I don't know. Probably gonna have to just buy a bot.
Probably.
It's so crazy to me.
You know?
I don't know. I'll ask my friend. I'll let you know.
Okay.
No, that's how he got his cards. He's got this. I think I snapped a picture of it. I'll send it to you guys. He's got this massive Ethereum mining thing he's got going on. So he's like buying, apparently 3060 Ti's are really good at mining. And then I don't know. He's doing this whole thing anyway, but congrats on the new computer, man. How have you been, Potion? What's been going on with you, buddy?
We did the Infinite stream. It's complete. So that lasted 520 hours. As one might expect, I have ended it, and I streamed for like 1 or 2 more days after it, but my sleep schedule has been completely destroyed. I mean, bro, every day it's just by like 6 hours a day. It's all over the place. It's a mess. So that's what I'm trying to fix this week. I got like a small grasp on it, I think. So hopefully this next week I can start streaming some more on a regular time. As far as BDO goes, though, I got my pin crescent ring during the Infinite stream, and that was my last pin accessory, so I'm full pin accessories now. And I've gained, I think, 6 Cafris levels in DP. I don't really remember. Anyway, my gear score now is 301 AP, Kudum, and then 370 DP. So DP needs some work still, but really, really good on the AP side.
You outgear me.
I outgear a lot of people.
It's finally happened. Well, congratulations, man. Proud of you. 528 hours, right?
Yeah, I was just bored the entire time, so I just grinded.
Yeah.
How did it turn out? Did you make money? Did you make followers? What was the final analysis?
I don't know the exact number of followers. The money on it ended up being, I think it was like 4,500 or something like that. Something around there.
Because PayPal takes cuts and stuff.
Yeah, something like that, and Twitch takes their cut, of course. But and also I had a thing where you could add time with your points. So if people did that and added the time onto it as well.
Added time for free?
Yep.
It was a lot of points. It was like 10,000 points per minute, or it was like 1,000 points per minute or something.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
it's a lot.
It was just crazy. Anyway, I'm using that money to make new music albums. That's the thing I've been working on this week since my sleep schedule's been so messed up. I currently have 16 songs out of 20, and still waiting on the album art. So hopefully we'll have it out by the end of the month. Fingers crossed.
So you streamed for 22 days.
Yeah. I started January 4th.
How much were you sleeping each night?
So the way I started off is I want people to feel like they're getting their bang for the buck. So the first night I sleep 4 hours, then I sleep 8 hours, then I sleep 4 hours, then I sleep 8 hours, then I sleep 4 hours. And after the first week, then I go to 8 hours every night. Or I just basically don't set an alarm. I just wake up whenever. That way I can kind of get caught up in the previous week.
You naturally wake up after 8 hours without an alarm?
Oh yeah, 100%. I never set an
Damn,
alarm.
even after fucking up your cycle like that? I don't. If I go to sleep
Yeah.
without an alarm, I'll sleep for like 11 and a half hours.
Well, my problem is the alternative is I sleep through the alarm, so I don't really have much of a choice. I like if I set an alarm, like I have to set like 5 of them, and then there's still like a 50% chance that I sleep through them all. I don't know. So I have to plan out my sleep for 8 hours. If I don't plan out 8 hours of sleep, then my body will take what it desires.
I would have people routinely coming into my stream and being like, this stream sucks. I'm going to go watch Potion sleep. Probably like 20 different people said that to me.
What the fuck?
They're like, streamer, when are you going to go to sleep? I don't want to watch you while you're awake.
Bunch of memers, bro.
For as private of a person as you are, I find it astounding that you just would only turn the camera on while you're sleeping.
Yeah, I don't know. I draw my line in an interesting way about how I separate private versus public and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that's just I like basically the things I don't talk about a whole lot would be like my family and stuff like that. That type of stuff.
Have you ever not like woken up naked or just like not forget that the camera's awake and you've got like some morning wood and you roll out to the bathroom or something? Like you weren't afraid of any of that shit? Like you say a racial slur in your sleep, like Orientals. Or...
Well, I don't think I talk in my sleep, but that was definitely like I was really curious the first time I did it if I talked in my sleep. So everybody was like, "Hey, what I do?" And they were like, "Oh, you mumbled some words. I don't know. You turned over a couple times." Then somebody's like, "You didn't move for like 3 hours, man. I thought you were dead." The next guy's like, "Oh, I thought it was a photo. He's actually sleeping." So the big thing this time is my room was hot the entire time, so I didn't have good sleep this time for it. So that was the extra layer of suffering.
was it all worth it?
As far as the morning wood goes, I actually set up the camera so that is not a possibility. All right, so I took that consideration, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, he's a professional.
Obviously, yeah.
I don't know. When I wake up, I'm not really thinking. I'm just getting whatever. Okay. All right. Good for you. All right. You're a professional. Fair enough. Accepted. I have I took the past week off of BDO, and last week's no podcast thing was my fault because I node ward with this T1 guild that like one of my viewers started. It's like, come more with us for like months. And so I finally go. I'm like, it's Friday. I got nothing to do. Have a couple drinks and do a node war. So I get like half a drink in, and the shot caller like dies or whatever. And I'm like, hey, group up over here. And then wait for the shot caller. And so that happens. And then I do it a couple more times. And then I get a message like, hey, you're flustering the shot caller. Please stop. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I stop. And then he like DC'd or something. So then I get everybody to the base. You know, it's a group of new people and stuff. And then I was accused of trying to hijack the node war. And so I just G quit and I haven't touched BDO since. It's just like I can't even do a T1 node war with friends. So just something's off here. So I'm just gonna stop for a little bit.
Man, it's crazy how you have to make every T1 node war about you, Tim.
I just wanted to help people regroup.
Yeah, you wanted to help them regroup on your location. Kind of sus.
Hmm. I don't know. Well, I mean, I can get that though. It's like bittersweet, right? And I think like for you in particular, right? You obviously like node words and shot calling stuff. That's like your passion in BDO.
Not anymore, dude. Holy fuck. Jesus.
What is your passion?
Right.
Excuse me.
Star Wars Galaxies. That's what I've been doing.
Is that what you've been playing?
How's it
I've
been?
been playing a metric fuck ton of Star Wars Galaxies. It's been amazing. The streams are really fun. The community's really cool. Very chill. If you walk up to a grind spot and there's somebody else there, they're like, "Hey, I'm going to be here for this much longer. What do you need? What are you doing? Can I help you?" You know, it's like completely different. It's super positive. There's still some trolling and stuff like that, but the grind in the game is absolutely insane. Like a rare drop, if you get a rare drop, it's like 6 to 8 months worth of grinding of currency.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's huge. You can either keep it and be a god in PvP, or you can sell it and be one of the richest people on the server. And so I've been having a lot of fun playing it on and off stream. I've been playing a little bit of Apex too, but I realized that everybody who plays Apex now has a TTV in their name, and there's no chill in that game whatsoever. They're all cheating or calling each other slurs and just trying to crawl over each other's corpses to get signed to CLG or something. So I've been having less fun doing that, but the SWG has been a lot of fun. So that's what
Crazy how much of these old games are. Like, I've been playing a lot of Asheron's Call off stream, so like it's funny to hear that you're playing so much Star Wars Galaxy still.
I did play
It's a ton.
Hades. I did play Hades finally. That was awesome.
I thought about buying that.
You should.
Yep.
It's super, super worth it.
It makes you realize how bad some other games are.
I was either going to go like super hard into Hades, the new PoE season, and try to figure that out, or Star Wars Galaxies. But I already kind of have this little foothold in, kind of community and SWG. So I just went back to that and not really looking back. I'm like halfway. I'm almost a Jedi. I say almost halfway. It takes about 4 months to be a Jedi. So I've got probably a little over 2 months left worth of grinding to start my grind as a Jedi. It's insane. So been having a lot of fun with that. But I've been keeping up with BDO. I've been pumping out Kaffir's levels too. I think I'm almost C9 and up on everything. So I'm pretty happy about that.
It's a good time for that.
Yeah, and then got to try Dead God next. But after last Friday's Node War, I'm just like, I need a fucking break from BDO. I've been like lagging really bad. Have you guys been lagging super bad in game?
I feel like the monsters are less responsive. Like
I did an RBF and I got knocked out of like my super armor animation was almost done and I got knocked out of it. Like there was just massive amounts of desync where it made it like super unplayable.
I don't think the super armor on Solar Flare core skill was actually put into the game. I'm convinced that it's just a placeholder.
It's a pretty small animation, man.
Man, I was like cleanly in the middle of a solar flare. Like, even though it's really fast animation, I was in the middlest of a solar flare that you could be, and I still get knocked out of that shit. I just don't know when the protection is actually on.
Right, so I'm having those problems too. Like that's what I'm talking about. Is exactly that.
And so the visuals don't match up with what's happening on screen. Like what you get CC'd and it doesn't make any sense, and there's like a lot of problems like that right now. I don't know. I the one thing I noticed a lot recently is when I go to full screen, it takes like almost a solid minute until the monsters to start respawning. Like actually, like I can actually do damage to them and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like the servers take forever to update or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they all got their feet kicked up over there.
Did the patch note descriptions, you know how like before the transfer, every time there was a patch, there was like a 3-paragraph introduction with a bunch of like RP and like XDs and like, this week we've got some exciting content, blah, 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 blah. Ever since the transfer was announced, every patch note intro is like, this week we added a new feature, see it below. And that's it. They like don't go any no detail, no like RP. It's like, yeah, we're done with this.
Well, I mean, those come from Korea, so I think that RP element is. I think Korea, like Pearl Abyss, wants to make Kakao games look worse.
Those don't come from. You think the RP at the top comes from Korea?
Oh yeah, because they even do it on Global Lab. They even do it on Global Lab. They're like,
Richter used to come up with that shit. Do you remember Loyal Hose? You think Loyal Hose came from Korea?
No, okay. I will give credit. There is some things that Kakao Games does for sure.
Yeah, Richter used to tell me about how sweaty the days right before patch were, trying to get all the translation done and the last second things going through and all that shit. So
yeah, I do think that it has been tapering down though. You really think it's Kakao Games initiating that though? I figured it'd be Pearl Abyss. It's in Pearl Abyss's best interest for them to look bad right now.
I don't think so.
Well,
dude.
because why would be benefit to Kakao Games, right? They have a new MMO coming out later this year, and they don't want to have a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
They're trying to sabotage them, dude. I don't think it's like that sweaty.
Oh, I think I don't know. I don't think they like each other at all.
If they were gonna sabotage them, I don't think they'd do it in the form of like slightly less enthusiastic patch note intros. It's like the most passive sabotage I've ever heard.
I think the truth lies somewhere in between those two opinions.
It's probably somewhere between. They probably try to do what they can, but they can't get away with much because obviously legal stuff.
Yeah, sabotaging companies that you're currently in contract with is probably against some sort of law. Antitrust or something, probably. Potion, you want to walk us through some patch notes?
Let's get started. We've missed a lot of updates the last couple weeks, so I want to cover it all. We're starting with the Black Star Awakening weapon is out now. We missed that. What do you guys think about it?
Kind of underwhelming.
I don't know. It's interesting for Succession. I think it's a very interesting update for Succession.
Yeah, I rushed a Tet for Succession, but now that I'm switched over to Awakening, I kind of just want to sell my Tet Blackstar while they're capped out, because there's not even much demand for them on NA. They already maxed out in price, or like not maxed out, but they're as high as they're going to go, it looks like. So I think I'm just going to sell my Tet Blackstar and go back to use my Pendandy, Kafris it up, and just use that instead. It'll be a PvP upgrade, and it'll be like the same effectiveness in PvE. It'll just cost me a little bit more, but I think it's going to be worth it if I'm actually going to play Awakening. So yeah, I don't even think I'm going to be holding on to my Black Star Awakening weapon. I don't think I'll go back to it until I'm ready to go for Pen.
That's kind of my thought process. Like, I'm kind of thinking like new players go for it maybe, or Succession players go for it. But for veteran players, I feel like you don't go for it unless you go for Pen. That's kind of the smart feeling on it.
What do you think? It's super worth 14 bill for a newer account, especially if you're playing Succession.
It's very ironic that the new top of the line orange Awakening weapon is only best in slot for Succession. Like, there's something wrong with that. I just feel like it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like to see for weapons, at least, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but I think a solution for that might be accuracy. Take half the accuracy off Zarka and add it to your Awakening weapon, and I think that would at least increase the value of it across the board.
Well, or they could restat Kafris levels so that some of the like accuracy and stuff that you get from Kafrising is baked into the weapon's base stats instead. I don't know, the whole way they did the Kafris levels, it just makes Blackstar kind of bad in a lot of ways. The same is true for armor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if they were going to come out with an Awakening weapon, it should have been, I don't know, because weapons are different than, I don't know.
I think they could have given it like 6 to 8 more monster damage, and that would have been totally fine. It would have felt more like the main hand trade-off, where it's like you need a couple Kafris brackets to break even in PvE, but it's worth it if you want the PvP damage. They could have made the same trade-off for Awakening, but for Awakening, they're so close together, like you barely get any more monster damage. You can catch up to it basically in one bracket, which doesn't cost that much in a Pendandy. So why would you ever? Why wouldn't you do that unless you're just strictly PvE or Succession? Those are the only two times that I think you would go Tet Blackstar.
I think there's some people who might not understand why it's why a lot of people are considering staying with Dandy. Is it like? Could you maybe elaborate on that?
Well, okay, so I think you get like 10 extra monster damage. I'll have to double check, but I think it's like 10 extra monster damage having a Tet Blackstar versus a Pin Dandy. So if instead you just put a few Kaffir's levels, maybe like 3 or 5 Kaffir's levels in your Dandy, whatever you need to hit the next bracket, you're breaking even in PvE and you're getting an extra bracket worth of damage in PvP. And all it costs you is, a couple bill, whatever the price of hitting like a Kaffir's 3 or a Kaffir's 5 in your Dandy is. Like worst case scenario, you'd have to go like Kaffir's 7. So I mean, it's costing you a little bit more, but you're still paying way less for that IP than you would if you were going like pin accessories or something. So it's really efficient if you're doing any kind of PvP to just Kaffir's your Dandy. You'll do the same amount of damage that you would with the Blackstar in PvE anyways, and you'll do more in PvP for like a really cost efficient price. So yeah, Blackstar it's kind of just a bad trade off unless you're Succession.
I feel like main hand Blackstar is kind of a different story, though. I feel like main hand Blackstar is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, main hand Blackstar has a lot more monster damage on it. It's like 2.5 brackets or something rather than just one bracket of difference in PvE.
I thought we were going to see that when my Dandy is C7. Obviously, I play Awaken in everything, and I'm kind of committed to the Awakening thing too, since I have 7 levels of Kaffir's in there. And I went to look at Tet, and it was like 3 AP lower than what I had currently. And I'm like, oh my god, so I have to be pen for this to matter at all? Like, I'm not going to lose an entire fucking bracket over this, almost 2. Like, I'm looking for ways to gain AP. I'm looking for ways to gain AP, not lose AP.
Yeah, so you lose 4 species and you gain 15 monster AP. So you're essentially gaining like 11 or 12 monster AP with the Tet Blackstar. And like, if you just Kaffir's 3 AP into your Dandy, hit your next bracket, then you're getting this practically the same amount. So
I just went for my Pen Bassi, as I said that, and it failed.
Did you actually just tap a Pin Bassi?
Yeah. Well, I blew it up.
Oh, you had okay, you had season Pin Kaposh belt. Bro, I was like, bro, he's tapped for Pin Blackstar Raw tapped 2 times and now this? Okay. Yeah,
no, I'm doing that
I guess
right now though.
I guess that makes sense, the monster damage being the main issue there. I feel like the other way they could look at it is like if they make it where Kaffir's levels all have the same cost across the board. And that would actually kind of solve that problem as well, because then it'd be less worth it, if it was 1,000 Kaffir's for a Kaffir's level across the board for everyone.
I don't want to get too cynical too early here, but I really think that this is just a move towards, right? Blackstar armor, Blackstar weapons make more money because they require more Cron stones than other gear, and then eventually the Fallen God, which will require even more Cron stones.
They're fucking it up though, because if they want to make more money, they need to make Blackstar gear actually be the best gear, and they keep making it subpar compared to boss gear.
Well, it'll get there, of that I am sure.
I feel like they are going to upgrade everything into Fallen God, and I think that will just be clearly the best. I think that's what they're probably going to go for.
Right, all these conversations and wasted arguments and stuff we've had on this podcast about like gear diversity and stuff, it's very clear we're all just going to get slammed into Fallen God eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, Fallen God main hand's probably 6 months away, and Fallen God Awakening weapon's probably 2 years away, so it's not that wasted. You still got a lot of BDO left before we get to
It's wasted, Marlon!
It's not like they're rushing out Fallen God pieces. We have one of them so far.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It'd be nice if it was just one piece of armor and like an awakened weapon or something, or maybe just an offhand.
No, I want it to be every single slot.
I don't want it.
Evasion meta.
I like the idea of working for more gear, but in reality, I am just so not motivated to grind out 100 bill. It's just it takes so long to do it.
Yes, it does.
I don't feel like it takes that long anymore.
Well, I mean, all right. You just go for a Tet Fallen God, 100 bill, you got your pin Blackstar, right?
No, Tet Fallen God's a meme. No, like hardly. Tet Fallen God is just whale bait, but getting like your base, duo or tri Fallen God, I think is a pretty meaningful goal for a lot of like late game players.
Like I was doing about 20 billion a week. No, 10 billion a week, but I was 70 hours. I was putting 70 hours of grinding for that. And I just don't see that as realistic for I don't know. Like that's just so much time. You're talking about 700 hours per piece of gear. I mean, that's really a lot of time.
Wait, how much are you making per hour?
I mean, my money per hour I make like 2 bill a day, but I usually do it like 12 hours. I prefer to do more time, less efficient. I'm making like, I don't know, 150, something like that.
That's a cryo.
But we're talking about 70 hours, and then that's including all your breaks. That's like your regular human time that it'll take you to do that.
I think most in-game players are probably making about twice what you just said, but it is still a lot of time.
Well, like I'm saying, that is like including all your breaks and everything, because you have to include breaks in your grind time. Like how long are you going to take to eat? How long are you going to take to for bathroom breaks? How long do you need to take a break between hours of grinding and stuff? And
it took me 3 months of nonstop grinding to get my Tet Dandelion back in the day. It all just scales up, right?
If I turn in my guru boxes, which I almost always do, and then you consider like other small things like rift bosses and all that kind of stuff, I can generally make a bill a day after marketplace tax in 3 hours of grinding. Maybe sometimes I come up a little bit short.
The mills don't really count though, because you've made the majority of your profit ahead of time on that.
Yeah, I spend a day a week working on that. 6 to 8 hours, and it lasts a week.
So that's the whole extra hour you have to add on to it. But
I get where you go to Star's End and get an earring every hour. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I go back and forth between
I don't know.
and Star's End.
I'm just expressing. I was trying to justify my position on it not being fun to make 100 bill for each slot. I mean, and I think that's pretty obvious, because like if it was easy, then you guys would have pin distortions right now, right? You'd have tongue grad earrings. You would be C20, and I think that alone is proof that it's not a fun activity to go for. Because if it was, then we would all have that.
I think that's a specious argument. I'm turned off from this game for other reasons. I'm having a tough time with lag, and the PvP scene gives me nothing but toxicity, headaches, and I want to quit streaming. So if that was not the case, I would be pumping out a bill a day almost every single day without fail.
So yeah, the problem with BDO is not that the progression is hard or something. I mean, it is, but the problem that I'm having with my progression is lack of motivation. It's not a lack of effectiveness. I can make the money if I actually play the game. I'm just playing Hollow Knight instead. Yeah,
well, I mean, I guess that's a different way of saying the same thing I'm saying. It's not fun to grind 100 bill.
No, it's completely different. It's fine grinding 100 bill, because if I'm invested in something in this game, right? If I'm leading a siege guild and I want to be a top fragger, if I'm, have a PvP minded stream that, worries about and lives on RBF or something like that, or they come up with some different version of PvP that's actually interesting instead of trying to force it to be interesting, then I'm motivated to grind. It's not the grinding that is or isn't fun, it's the ends to another mean. So it's not, by itself, if you sit there and grind, I don't know how fun is killing the same mobs every 90 seconds over and over again. I mean, that's kind of like a you thing, right? I can't tell you what that is, but it sounds like Moreland and I, we do it to achieve something. And when we don't feel like there's something to work for, there's no reason to do it.
Well, yes, I think you're addressing the underlying issue, and I'm just kind of saying the generic reason, right? I agree with you. Like, I think the reason I don't have motivation for it is because I don't enjoy grinding for 700 hours for no benefit, right? Or at least no like.
You're kind of just saying you don't enjoy BDO then at that point. I mean, you can go cook instead. You could gather instead. You could barter instead.
It's not about that. It's like
a few other things you could do besides grinding the same spot.
I'm saying this. I'm agreeing with you on saying that the motivation is the problem, right? I'm just simplifying that down to it's just not fun to make 100 bill. Right now, it is fun to make 7 billion for the amount of reward that BDO has right now. 7 billion, 10 billion, those type of things, like 15 billion. Those are things that you can do and you still enjoy BDO. Because the amount of fun that BDO offers right now is worth me grinding out 15 billion for an item. But anything past around like 15 billion for me personally, I feel like that I lose motivation because it's not the amount of time is not worth the effort. So you see what I'm saying there? BDO, and then to fix that, BDO needs to be more fun, right? I'm just trying to simplify that down to something that's easy to say. I'm agreeing with you guys, but
I see what you're saying. I don't think most players are at the point where they can't make a meaningful gain in 15 bill, though. I mean, even for me, like, I could push quite a lot of AP just getting like pen Cressy's and pen Grassy, which are like 28, 30 bill each. I mean, I could get a new accessory every 2 weeks if I was motivated to do it.
The point is not
a lot of time at all.
The point of the debate here, though, was that grinding out 100 billion is not fun. Not talking about 15 billion. We're talking about 100 billion.
I don't know. I had fun grinding for my pin Blackstar. It was actually the most motivated I've been. But then they fucking killed T1s, and I don't know. It all backfired. But yeah, I had a good time grinding 100 bill for the pin Blackstar.
Yeah, so I guess it's just a mindset thing, right? Like if 100 bill would get me some amazing thing, then I'd be knocking it out like you wouldn't believe, right? I can turn my brain off and grind like anybody else. I don't think grinding is fun in this game or Star Wars Galaxies or Apex Legends or anything else, but it's the reward at the end. It's what you achieve from it, whether, albeit experience or gear or money or whatever the case is. If that isn't worth it to you, and it's subjective, obviously, then you're not going to do it. And that's where I'm at right now. And I have been for a while. I've been fighting it because this is such a good time to just make money and just gear up, because this game's focused on so many other things, politics and swapping over, publishers and all that kind of stuff. But there's all this stuff on this horizon that's been dangled in front of us multiple times. So, if you are having fun playing BDO, my advice to you is, node war if you want to, but man, this is the time to grind. This is definitely the time to grind.
Yeah, I think
I actually can't believe how cheap everything is on the market right now. Like if you're grinding right now, you really can catch up to end game players in a few months. Like if you went hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess this moves us on. We can move on and continue the same topic with Blackstar Gloves came out. I don't think anybody's kind of going for these. Do you guys know anybody who's going for these? Who would these be good for?
No, they're trash. I mean, it's the same problem as before. Getting bags and putting Kaffir stones in them is way more effective than getting Blackstar gloves.
Yeah.
They are kind of addressing that with the Hadoom thingy. You'll be able to basically make your Blackstar gear into a C6 equivalent. So for most players, that's a decent alternative. But for competitive players, you still want at least C9. So it's kind of meh, unless you want the PvE reduction or something.
I still see the problem being turning into Fallen God. That seems like the underlying issue with Fallen, Blackstar armor in general, is that when Fallen God comes out, then the value of it plummets because you can't turn it into Fallen God easily.
Well, hold on. We don't know that, right? So there was no Blackstar armor when Fallen God came out, right?
Yeah, there was.
There was. So that came out first. That's right. So that came out first, and then that's interesting.
And they've already mentioned
I assumed that we would just be able to pin it and then go into.
Yeah, you can pin it, but what he's saying is with bags, you can just feed it Kaffir stones, get to C10, and you're good to go. With something like Blackstar gloves, you're at the mercy of RNG. You've got to have the stacks. You've got to have the Cron stones. You've got to play the casino. You can't just okay, here's what I need for Fallen God. And I think most players want the Kaffir's route rather than the casino Cronstone route.
Well, and the casino problem is not necessarily a big deal, other than the fact that you can't get the materials you need for casino, right? You can't get a huge fail stack easily. Most players can, unless you're biohack. And on top of that, you can't get the Cronstones either. So you're kind of you're having two different problems at the same time. I wouldn't mind going for Pin Blackstar if getting a fail stack was easier and Cronstones were easier. I mean, I think that'd be pretty reasonable for a lot of players if those were both available. But yeah, what's the fail stack people need for that right now?
The Cronstone increase is super, super long overdue. I think the only reason that they're postponing it at this point has got to just be related to the transfer. They probably just want to post big revenue after the transfer, and so they're waiting for that. But yeah, the Cronstone shortage is a constant problem, especially in EU. And I hope Pearl Abyss starts to realize just how bad it is now that they're self-publishing, because they've just ignored that shit for years.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see. They've mentioned a transfer of service. We can start talking about that. They have a new Discord, a new website, and we're getting new servers. Maybe I'm kind of waiting for news on that, I guess. What do you guys think about it? What's the pros? What's the cons? It's a large topic to tackle.
It's good to see that they're hiring some people from Cacao Games. Inlave's a good dude. Glad to see him over there. GM Death is a wonderful GM. So it's good that they're cherry picking a couple of people as far as staffing is concerned. I think, we've interviewed both, kind of CMs that are still around the game or whatever that have left Cacao Games. I think we have the best kind of portrait of the relationship between Cacao Games and Pearl Abyss that we could possibly paint for ourselves. And I think with the knowledge that we've been given just here on this podcast, it's pretty easy to draw some lines there that the people that we're really losing between the relationship with the players. So I don't see how this could really be a bad thing. A lot of the stuff that I was predicting about this, just from the Xbox experience, it seems that a lot of that is happening, the NDAs and, how they're treating things. And we're probably going to get a lot of streams of, updates and shit like they do on Xbox. And I think we're going to see a lot of, since it's coming out of the same office, I believe, I think we're going to see a lot of similarities between the Xbox publishing and PC publishing now. So I think if that maintains and stays true, I think it's going to be a wonderful change in a couple different ways. And if we get new servers, oh boy, I'd be real happy about that.
I really wonder what they're going to do about the servers, actually.
Yeah.
They're still located in California. Like the Pearl Abyss headquarters in North America is located in California. So
yeah, but I don't think that has any correlation to where the servers are located, right? Does it?
Well, what they did for BDO originally is they had their headquarters in San Francisco, and then they also had the servers in San Francisco for Cacao. And I would assume that Pearl Abyss would do the same thing.
I can't believe in 2021 you would locate servers anywhere else besides Chicago, Texas, Central America, for an NA.
Yeah, it's
the scenario.
It's really outdated tactics on multiple fronts, right? Because one, you're getting a really, really high tax rate in California for the employees you're hiring, and then two, your servers aren't in a good location. So I just don't know. I feel like
I could give a fuck about the first one, right? But I think League of Legends has been in Chicago for since day one, right? Everybody's basically got 50 ping except for the million people that live in Illinois or whatever, and God bless them.
They moved them like season 4 or something like that, but it's been that way for, I don't know, a very, very long time. And they moved them for the reasons that you stated, right? Being in a central location in Chicago, right? They moved them there because it was a good location.
Who's going to get a bad connection to Chicago, right? Moreland's going to get 60 ping. I'm going to get 50 ping. You're probably going to get 40 potion. It's going to be, everybody's like right there in that competitive. And I think that's the most important thing, except for a couple people in the Midwest that get 20. Good for them,
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would like to see out of all of this. But, more communication. I think we've beaten this horse pretty heavily on this podcast. It's just more communication and consistency. And maybe a touch of transparency when it's something major happens, maybe some quicker responses to major problems in the game. There's a lot that the relationship between Pearl Abyss and Cacao has really damaged this game in a major way. But, I think it all kind of pales in comparison as the pay to win in this game gets ramped up to the nth degree.
Well, they did have a meeting. Pearl Abyss did have a meeting with content creators. They had one meeting for EU and one meeting for NA, and they hired a designated person, and their full-time job is managing the partners. And it's management for console and PC, which is interesting because I think that also kind of lends to the thought that they're trying to blend those audiences more. And I think that says a lot that they haven't taken over the service yet, but they're already trying. They've already have had a meeting where they sat down and they talked with the content creators about what their expectations were, what the kind of realities were of the situation, and I think that bodes well for the future of the program. And time will tell if that actually, if there's any fruit there. But
I mean, not to be cynical, but I feel like that's the bare minimum that we would expect at this point. Like, I don't know if they deserve a big, like, pat on the back just for having a 20-minute call with, all the people who constantly support and, like, advertise the game for them. That just seems like basic 101. Of course you would do that. When they actually start taking our feedback and implementing it in a meaningful way, when mercs get capped, when like literally anything that we say in the partner Discord actually happens, when less than 3 months goes by before we get responses to major exploits like the trading coupon, then we can say something's different. Until then, I'm just like, I don't know.
Well,
too jaded, I guess.
I think the one big issue is this was actually brought up to some capacity. And one of the big issues that is basically they gave the impression that they said, what do you want for the partner program? And then we basically asked, what do you guys want from the partner program? And so we were like, well, we want X, Y, and Z. And they really alluded to the fact that we're not going to have a big impact on game development, which was what I kind of want. Is I don't want a big impact, but there's some things that the developers overlook. There's some things that Pearl Abyss money-wise overlook, right? And there's some things that just get overlooked for years and years and years that the players really care about, like energy right now in Gathering, or like protected area got ignored for years, right? There's things like that that the players care about a whole lot, and Pearl Abyss does not care about. So, anyway,
Man, they're going to give you a colored name title. They're going to pay for your buffs. You're going to sign an NDA, and that's it. Right? It's exactly what I said it was going to be a year ago. They're not going to take your advice in. They know what the problems are with the game. They don't need to hear it from a different source. They're going to make this game exactly the way it is, and that's that. If you're expecting something different, you're going to be disappointed. Be happy with your color title and have fun with it, and that's it. I mean, that's why I left the partner program. That's why I don't want to be a part of any fucking partner program. I don't want to waste time on that. Yeah, they're going to give you... No, didn't you sign an NDA? You can't say that.
They've actually had like a whole... They got leaked.
Did they?
Yeah, they got leaked.
Yeah, it's like, here are the perks of the partner program. You get free something. I don't even remember what it was.
There was
none of it had anything to do with your opinion will matter. Like, I didn't get that impression at all.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the main thing that I want to see from the server transfer is I just want to see servers that actually have a good tick rate. If we're not going to have good ping, then c'est la vie, but a good tick rate would be really, really nice. It would solve a lot of the problems that we have with like things not lining up on our screens.
I don't know if that's a tick rate issue, man, but I don't want to really get into that conversation. I'm with you, though. The desync, it could be netcode. There's a couple different things it could be. I don't know enough about that to have a conversation with you.
Sure.
But it's completely fucking unplayable to me the way it's been the past week and a half. Like my last clip on the last engage that I had and the last RBF I did, I got knocked down in an iframe. In the middle of just completely in the middle of an iframe, and then I buffed and my weapon got put away. And then I just died like an asshole. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I even streaming this?
Yeah, it needs to be fixed,
really
whatever it is. Whether
really
that be whether it be ping, tick rate, or netcode, or whatever it is. I mean, it just needs to be fixed. That's the TLDR of all that discussion, right?
Did you guys bring up official support from Pearl Abyss for Nerds and Words podcast? Because whatever reason, they forgot to invite me to that meeting.
To the partner meeting?
Yeah.
Isn't it just anyone who applied?
Yeah, if you applied, then they let you in.
Oh,
They didn't like DM me and say, "Oh, please come to the meeting."
Shit, I should have applied then.
What's your biggest fear for the server transfer, and what's your biggest hope?
My biggest fear is that rehire Rotaz.
Ooh.
Okay, well, I was gonna go with another angle.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've been watching my 1 AP, 1 DP buff turn itself on and off for a week. And I'm just really worried that some part of this transfer is not actually going to go through. I don't know what parts. I don't know if all my fail stacks are going to be displaying at 180, but they actually got secretly reset to 0. I don't know, dude. Something's going to break, and it's going to be something invisible that we can't see, and we're going to be reeling from the effects of it for years, and we're never going to be able to figure out why. That's my biggest fear.
Oh,
my honest biggest fear is I have my first email is a Black Desert partner token appreciation from Imre. That is a Rudolph headband that I still have. I have emails from GM Horizon saying the glove didn't fit as demanded. Please find your 1 GM blessing in Blackstone armor. When I got wrongfully banned, like all of my like really funny emails from Cacao Games from a while ago. I have like a season's greeting, the loving gift from Blade Boquez. I don't want that to go anywhere. I want that to stay in my mail. I'm afraid some of the shit's gonna go away, dude.
I have the server first chicken meat pre-order in my mail.
You can't even pre-order anymore.
You can't. That's legacy. That's vintage chicken meat. If that gets erased, I'm gonna be genuinely upset.
Yeah.
What if my crowns get fucking erased? All 5 crowns for the territory?
You had to bring up your fucking crown. That's the least worrisome thing, that we would lose items. He just had to find a reason to say that he's got 5 crowns.
Hold on. This is the reason I wanted to play this game, is to get all 5 territories. That was my win condition of playing BDO. I did it. I'm proud of it. Go fuck yourself, Marlon.
Maybe there's going to be a new crown in Thornwood Castle.
You're just fucking upset because you couldn't do it if you tried.
Oh, well,
get 5 crowns?
Right.
Well, the thing is, with the new node war system, they're probably going to remove all the old crowns, and you have to re-earn them underneath the new system. With the new
I didn't even listen to what you said, Potion Shop. We should probably not repeat that.
Oh, I really think we should repeat that.
Yeah, you want to do that?
Oh, yeah. So the new Node Wars system, they're getting rid of Node Wars entirely, and I think there's a chance they remove all legacy items.
Did I not introduce our special guest this week, which is the eggshells I'm going to be walking on in this podcast? Please don't make me fucking stomp on them, kid. Thank you. Let's move on.
All right, that's fair. What's your biggest hope for it? The biggest hope for server transfer?
How long do I have to answer this?
Hope?
I mean, you guess you can answer. I have no hope. I don't know.
Better servers.
Hope.
Are we gonna have to define that for you?
I remember what it was like to have hope. I do think there is a chance. I'm not holding my breath, but I think there is a chance that now that there are like 13 less middlemen between us and the developers, that the devs might actually hear some of the stuff we're saying and take it seriously, instead of just being like, oh, Cacao gave us more feedback, let's put it in the shredder.
I have a pretty high hope that now that Cacao's out of the way, that snake streamers aren't going to determine what it is and isn't an exploit, quite frankly.
That would be very nice, actually.
I think those days might be numbered.
I mean, if the partner program actually works, snake streamers are going to be more powerful than ever.
It won't. I'm not worried about that.
Let's see. Season graduation happened.
Yeah, I did it right before we started the stream. It was great.
Yeah. There's apparently a quest you have to do for the pink capocha this time.
Nope, it's 20. You have to do 20 quests, and a lot of them has to do with cooking, and it's terrible.
So yeah, you have to do a different quest for it?
Yeah, so this is such good game design. So what they did was, it has nothing to do with any of the shit you've been working on for weeks in the season. It is a cooking quest that requires you to have skilled cooking.
Yeah.
So you have to not only go figure out what cooking is as a new player, you have to level your cooking up all the way to skilled, and then you can do the quest for the belt that helps you grind faster that has nothing to do with life skilling whatsoever.
Yep.
I think they literally just picked a random cooking box and it happened to be a skilled box. We're lucky that it's not like a guru box, honestly.
We're
I feel like
lucky bird meat is it. Oh, fuck this game. I'm sorry. I love BDO. No, I did it. It took like 30, 45 minutes, but I also have a Guru 37 cooker that lives in a house that has a cooking utensil. So I just swapped over to it and did it and moved on. So I understand the thought process, right? Because like I think in season 1, you went through like a whole bunch of like the daily quest eventually made you do some different things outside of adventuring. And so I think the game designer went, we need to do that. We need to teach these people something about life skilling. It's like, all right, well, before you get this big prize, you have to learn about the other aspects of the game. BDO is more than just grinding kind of thing. And so I think they haphazardly tried to reinforce that as a massive afterthought.
Yeah.
Armchair development, is that what you call it?
I would... No, that's still... You're still using it wrong.
I'm never going to use it right.
I would love if seasons actually had...
How is that wrong?
Tim, armchair has to do with not playing the game and just doing everything theoretically. It's all bad game design isn't armchair game design.
Well, they were just like, well, we should teach them about life skills. And then they just popped it in.
Yeah, but that's just bad. That's not armchair. Armchair is like, people are dying too fast in Siege. Let's give everyone 5,000 health because that will make them live longer. That's armchair, because only someone who doesn't actually play the game and only thinks of things in terms of like numbers would ever even consider that. You see what I mean? Like, it has no empirical application whatsoever. It's a purely just bad theory. That's why it's armchair.
I think you should broaden your horizons on this. I think that this is armchair.
What were we talking about?
Season graduation. I think
it would be cool if there were multiple paths through the season instead of just killing Nagas for 3 weeks. If you actually could cook or gather or something to complete your Black Spirit Pass, I think that would be great for new players. I think that life skilling has been woefully undersold to people in this game, and people who are new think this is just a grind fest, when actually there's a bunch of other interesting content that the game has that's not really ever introduced to new players. So I think the idea of getting seasoned players into life skills is a good one, but I can't think of a worse implementation than what they did in season 3. It makes no sense whatsoever. There
should be several ways of progressing, right? There should be like you could have your season pass and you can choose combat, questing, or
each
exploration.
Black thing should be like, kill 1,000 Fogans or gather 2,000 wolf meat, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there should be a bunch of different stuff that you can do to complete the same task. Mm-hmm. And there should be alternatives to the fucking soul-crushing main quest as well. Like, I can't tell you how many players I have come into my chat and they're like, hey, I haven't played BDO in 2 weeks. I'm coming back. Should I play the season? And I'm like, you should. Like, the rewards are worth it. You will have to do the main quest again. And they're like, oh, never mind. And like, I can just feel those people going and downloading Final Fantasy 14 as I tell them that. Like, there's people don't want to do the main quest in this game ever at all. Like, just stop making them do it. It's so mind-boggling.
Yeah, I honestly, like, they made a season and then they focused on the worst part of BDO for the season. The worst part. I don't know. And then that's supposed to be the content, right? Is this supposed to be, look, we redid the rewards on the questing.
Before Rand quit or was let go or whatever the fuck happened there, one of the PA guys, he was talking to me about, so we're going to have a meeting about what to do with seasons and future seasons. What do you think we should do? And I was like, anything besides season 1. It's fine for the first season, but you got to change it up. Not just the rewards. It's like, yeah, we're all thinking that too. And now he doesn't work there anymore.
That bodes well for the future of seasons.
I thought so, but that was like a year ago, so or half a year ago. I guess it's only been 2 seasons.
There's just fundamentally seasons are wrong. You know, it's like they focused it for new players, and it should be content for all players. And you're on like specialized servers, and they have all of it, and they have season. It's just there's so many different problems with it, both with how it's structured and how it's organized and everything. I think the idea of the word seasons should have some form in BDO. It's a really good way to get people back into the game and get excited, but the current way pushes people away from BDO over time instead of drawing them into BDO over time, and it has the opposite effect of what Seasons in Path of Exile does.
Well, or even like Last Oasis, how much fun did the three of us have going to a clean wipe of Last Oasis? Why is this not anything besides an actual clean wipe of a Calpheon era that moves to Medaya after a month and moves to Valencia after a month, and you have that whole thing, and it's like this whole little separate world. They put so much development time and items and specialty items into the season thing. I can't fucking figure out why they wouldn't do it.
If it was accelerated, even if it was a week of Calpheon, a week of Medaya, a week of Valencia, and the whole thing still ended in 2.5, 3 months, even that would be really fucking fun to go through. Like, it doesn't have to stretch out for too long. But I mean, yeah, like everyone who's played the game before just takes Cron Stones from their main character, slams all their gear to pin on the first day. There's no progression. Nothing's exciting. There's nothing's a race. Like, yeah, it's completely new player content. And even for new players, it's not good because it forces them into the worst parts of the game, i.e. The walking simulator R spammer that is the main quest.
Yep. And then, it's something new and different. So all the streamers are forced to kind of do it. Everyone's interested in it because it brings people back in under kind of false pretenses. And so I think they may conflate that for success. The fact that the season servers are crowded and stuff, but I don't think it's successful. I think it's just the opposite. But
well, on paper, they are.
Is this armchair? Is this an armchair thing?
This is very close to armchair.
That it's looking like it's working, so they're going to keep doing it. Is this armchair published development?
Yeah, because they're looking at the stats of it. If you look at season 1, the stats are like, wow, look, everybody came back because of the word the season, and everybody heard season 2, and they're like, oh wow, let's try it out. BDO has seasons now. What does that mean? And then at that point, the majority of your audiences realize that seasons are an illusion of fun, and it's really just not an enjoyable experience past the first time you might do it.
Well, so is life, but okay.
You get the diminishing returns of fun every time you repeat it. I guess is the best way of describing it, right? It's a one-off experience. Same thing as Ultra Blood, and that we've seen how that's worked for Ultra Blood, Savage Rift, and every single one-off activity in BDO. Well,
what's interesting to me is like there's essentially only one good part of seasons for existing players, and it is having gear capped PvP on like a new class that you want to try, or maybe you just don't have gear period because you're more casual, and now you can fight against other people in a gear capped environment. That's the only good thing season has going for it. Sure. And they could easily implement that across the game by just making like properly gear capped battlegrounds that are actually fun, or making T1s like back the way they used to be before they ruined those as well. Like, it's, again, this stuff is so obvious in our face. It's like, yeah.
Man, I want to go back to Null so bad. That was probably my favorite guild outside of Aftershock.
Right? Dude, when I finally left Null last week, and I was like looking at the guild list because I was like, man, I wonder how Null's been doing. Like, I haven't really been logging into Discord since T1's died. There was like 4 or 5 people online in the guild, but the guild still had 60 members. Yeah. So after T1's, 40 people or 35 people went to other guilds. 50 to 60 people just stopped playing BDO, and that's just one guild. Like, think of how many other T1 guilds were affected as well. Like, I just can't believe they're not noticing this.
Especially when they're about to redesign all of Nodeware's in general, right? You would think you would try to iron out some of the problems and play test some things in the current environment and see what works.
Look at what's working. And T1 Node Wars are the most successful PvP this game has had since launch. Like, when was the last time we had 14 guilds placed on a T2 or a T3 node or a siege? That shit happened back in like the Man-Up Vertex days. But ever since, what, 2017? We probably haven't seen something like that. I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it still happens on T1s. It still happens. So I did a couple of those.
Like, they should have the data that's showing them T1s are 5 times more popular than every other tier of PvP. Why is that?
Yep.
I think they're still doing it though, in spite of or despite of the HP changes. They're like, you know, a bunch of people are like, this is still better than everything else, even though I don't think anybody fucking agrees or likes that HP change. Like the downscaling over time thing. Why is it that there has to be, I've said this many times on the podcast, why does there have to be a different PvP mechanic for every single version of PvP in this game? Open world plays differently than RBF, which plays differently than Node Wars, which plays differently than Siege.
It's very frustrating and impossible for a new player to learn.
I have no idea what I'm popping off in RBF if I'm actually, you know, it's like... with the
it's also not taught to new players in any way. Like it never shows you how any of these mechanics work. RBF doesn't give you like a tutorial about how the defense thing works. It's like if you didn't read that one patch note, you'll never have any idea. Same thing with like CC limits in this game. I had one of my viewers asking how CC works, and I'm like, that's a good question. The game never even remotely explains that to you, do they? Like, that's very, very important. That's the crux of being able to kill someone in this game, is understanding the CC mechanics and how they cap.
Yeah, I was gonna make a video about that a while ago, and then I realized I don't really know the answers. It's like stagger and stiffen are like a half a CC, and there's a cap at 3. And how many seconds is there? It's like, I don't know. You float somebody twice, and then you grab them and wait a little bit, or
Guardian player talking over here literally doesn't need to know how CC.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
So it's actually 2 CCs, right? And then grapple goes to super armor. Is there any other?
Are we going to explain the CC mechanics right now? Do we not have anything else to go over?
Well, I don't know. I was curious. I mean,
I think it's like 2 hard CCs. And
every CC counts as 1 except for stiffen, which counts as 0.7.
Right.
And then you cap out at 2. So you can stiffen someone 3 times, or you can stiffen someone and then you can do 2 real CCs, which you should do. You should avoid CCs like knockback because they don't put your opponent on the ground, but they still eat up a CC. Bound is also worse than knockdown or float because they stand up a little bit faster. So ideally, you stiffen someone, and then you knock them down or float them, and then you knock them down or float them again. Float is starting to be better than knockdown, even though knockdown has more duration because lots of people have knockdown resist, but not float resist. And grapple is the only CC that works on someone who's super armored or blocking your attack.
Clip it and put it in a video.
There you go. That's the only source of information right there on how CCs work. Honestly. We can move on to some of the smaller topics, smaller updates. One of them is they gave Ranger Awakening a buff, which was needed for the class. Mainly affected PvE. Let's see. Oh, this was pretty cool. Someone's now scale with the player's AP. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. What do you guys think about that? Where it's
Really?
Yep, they scale with your AP up to 100.
That's a nonsense change. That's a gibberish change. That doesn't do what you think it does.
Yeah.
They basically they nerfed like 70 AP witches. Like, it literally doesn't matter for anything. Even for seasons, it doesn't matter. You go over that threshold so quickly that it's just somebody pretending like they're working. Like, it's one of those Friday at 4:59 p.m. patch notes where it's like, I gotta pretend like I did something this week.
Yeah, I think what they should do is there should be no cap on it, and then they should rebalance it so that way if you have 300 AP, then it scales with 300 AP, but it's maybe 33% weaker, right? You see what I'm saying?
I don't know why any of the damage that a player deals wouldn't be tied to their AP. The whole idea of summons being separate to begin with is very bizarre to me. I don't know why it doesn't just multiply like any other attack.
Right. Okay. But the way the game works right now is they have to completely rework all of that, because if you have a striker clone with 300 AP where it currently has 100 AP, you're gonna have a big fucking problem. So the pet damage
multiplier, right? I mean,
the whole thing needs to be redone. It should scale directly with the amount of damage that you have, and all of it should be reworked.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think the next thing you need to do is make it scale with accuracy, so it scales with your accuracy instead of it having its own like internal accuracy. I think was it striker clones are 80% accuracy, I believe. Other things are different. I don't know what they all are. I just think it's such a strange thing, and it makes classes like, for example, like Nova can go in when she's got all of her skills at level 60. She can go in at like 245 AP and grind Sakraya and pull like 4,500 trash loot. But then by the time she's like 280 AP, she pulls like only 500 or 1,000 more trash loot because all of her scaling was in her pets, and they max out at 100 AP. So she's insane at 100 AP. But past there, she has really big damage fall off because her pets aren't scaling anymore. And so it's just a really weird state in the game where Nova at 245 AP can pull crazy trash loot for that AP, but then it doesn't, anything higher than that almost has almost no benefit.
I'm having 2017, 2018 Awakened Witch and Wizard flashbacks right now with this conversation.
Yeah. And it's not like you can go to, it's not like it's overpowered for Ash Forest because the pets stop scaling. So you're just stuck with your pets always doing the same damage. So Ash Forest and Tauros, you fall off really hard. It's just such a strange thing to me. I really hope they continue making some iterative processes on it and improve it.
It's been the same thing and complained about since the pets of Awakening came out in whatever 2017 or whatever that was. So well, this isn't a new thing.
I do agree with you, but I do think this is a step in the right direction that scales with their AP. At least it's not perfect, but at least it's a step in the right direction. You know,
I think Moreland hit the nail on the head where it's like, hey, we're doing something, but it really didn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
I applaud your hope towards it, but
yeah, Potion, this is the reason why this is not a step in the right direction or a step in any direction whatsoever is because it only applies on people with less than 100 AP. Who in this game has less than 100 AP? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't exist anymore. Like, you have more than 100 AP 20 minutes into a fresh character.
I have literally Oasis weapons and I have 157.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's doesn't make any sense.
But all right, let's. I want to break it down just real quick, and then we can move on. So, do you think that if they scaled up to 300 AP, and then they may nerf the ability, this is a step in the right direction, like a step in that process?
No. So at risk of repeating myself, they need to have it scale completely with AP and have its own multiplier to where it balances the class to have roughly the right amount of damage that they want it to have. They need to completely rework pets damage and how it scales, and it should not cap at something. I don't think it should cap at all, because then they'll just have to go back and rework it again, and they just find a scaling that works appropriately. And if they need to touch it every once in a while, they can touch it every once in a while. But they just need to uncap it, but then they're going to have to go back and redo the ratios and stuff, and understand that there's AP bonuses that go into all that too, and really get out of their armchair.
Absolutely. All right. I don't want to continue arguing with you about it.
Are you sure? Because I'll put you down.
The Old Moon Grand Prix. It's Prix.
Grand Prix, please stop.
I had so many people correct me on that I wanted to see what you guys would say.
I wasn't going to correct anything.
Yeah,
it's a French. I don't understand why I have to pronounce it in the French way when I'm American.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Anyway, they added the Old Moon Grand Prix. They've added, I think since it came out, 2 new racing tracks for it. I was kind of surprised by this. It definitely needs still a lot more work. But it's definitely
done one.
It's a huge step in the right direction. No, I'm not into that kind of thing. What do you guys think about it? What do you guys think?
I don't like that it's like a separate type of horse. I don't know, dude. Like, I want this game to have a cool horse catching and horse breeding system. Like, just copy some shit from Final Fantasy VII or so. Like, it's not that hard to come up with a system where you can breed pets and like try to get better stats, and then like a person with a really good horse is faster and it's like impressive and it's something you can work towards. Like, they could make this an entire interesting sub game like bartering that people would go like balls deep into, but instead it's like, okay, you get this new type of horse that's not related to any of the training you've done in the last 5 years, and this new type of gear that's not related to any of the gear that you've worked for your regular horses, and everything caps out. And I don't know, like, the rewards are sort of decent if you win all your races. Personally, I feel like it's a big miss.
Yeah, if I get bored reading about something in the patch notes, that's about it for me. Let's have you have a different horse that has special abilities during this time, and you can win these things, so you can have a capped chance at a 3% T10 thing. At what point is any of this supposed to be appealing? Like, if somebody's super into this game only for horses and life skilling and all that kind of shit, and there is a section of those people, they could be enjoying it. But I'd have to, Kimmy, if you're around, I think I've got one person in my community that enjoys it or has done it or at least considered doing it, and that's about it. So I applaud them for trying, but once again, BDO, we were so close.
I think I think it's a good app description. It's so close. I think it's a good step in the right direction. I think the main problem is that they're aware that the amount of work it requires to get a dream horse is in extreme for new players, which is their fear. And so if they're designing a new activity, they consider new players, but new players would never even realize there's a horse racing in the game. That's on particular channels. So I think their concern was that, and I agree with Moreland on that. Having different horses for it is just ridiculous. I think it should be the same horses, and I think they just need to fundamentally go back to the drawing board, rebalance all the horses, and make it where it works out properly. I think they looked at one part of it and tried to keep all these legacy systems without actually thinking about how they need to be fixed or reworked or anything. They really looked at surface level and what they could add on to the structure instead of rethinking how it all needs to be changed to fundamentally support the horse training life skill. I do think the AFK food is really cool. The problem is that you have to win 4 horse races, which I don't know how long it takes you. 4 horse races, though, you have to win, be first place, in order to get both foods for one night of AFK riding around on your horse for an elixir and food. It just seems like way too much work for that. So I hope the problem is that this is how so many ideas are in BDO. It's like they get to the point where it's almost good and then they stop. And I feel like that's what they did with this one, along with so many other ideas.
Well, it kind of fucks me off that there's so many things that are glaringly wrong, capping Mercs and Siege, and they're paying so much attention to this. And there's like core things of this game, like combat. They even say it all the time, combat and grinding. And all that is like the core part of the game. It's what is the most exciting and all that kind of stuff. And there's just these the fruit has rotten. It's been hanging so low, and they're just weeks and weeks of development and redevelopment on horse racing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the core, like I say, the core issue with this is that they have 3 irons in the fire. Horse racing, Node Wars, whatever else they came out with recently, and the only one they're doing, all 3 of them are getting a third of the way done. They're just not.
Yeah, I don't think it's too many irons in the fire. I think it's just, I think it's just bad, dude. Like, once upon a time, this game had 20 irons in the fire, and it was fine. Like, there was a time when training horses was interesting and meaningful. where players had to figure out the way that horse breeding worked, and the fact that like pure white and pure black horses had better stats, and so you wanted to breed horses that had more black or more white in them together so that you could have a higher chance of getting a pure breed. And there was also a bunch of strategy with like fishing and where to go and which rod to use, and like there's a whole fishing Discord of people who research that shit. There was 10, 12, 20 different gathering rotations that were viable for different reasons. Like there used to be a million different ways to play these systems that were all interesting and cool. They weren't always watered down and boring like they are now. This is a new problem. I don't know if like the talent just went over to BDO Mobile or something, but this stuff isn't that hard to fix. And there is a version of this game where it all worked. They just haven't been able to get back to it for, a while.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really curious if it's just a new player focus. They just want to simplify everything down to the point where, I don't know, it's just not fun for anybody, and they just don't realize that because of the the development process they're going through. Because everything getting simpler definitely doesn't make things more fun. If that was the case, then the simplest thing in the world is to sit in your chair. That's not a fun activity to do unless you spin around or something. You have to add something else to it. My point though is that like they're simplifying BDO down to the point where it's not fun. They're taking the complexity adds an element of fun to it. Anyway, they added some complexity recently.
Your camera's off? Is that why your camera's off all the time while you play the game? Because you're spinning in your chair because you get bored?
They talking about interesting things. They added a new egg quest to BDO. So now you can repeat this egg quest and go around and get chicken eggs. You have to go if you get too close to them, startle them. Oh, you startle the chicken, and then he won't lay an egg for you, and then then you get less eggs, so it takes you longer to do the quest. So
sounds like my last girlfriend.
If I wanted to chase chickens, I'd go play Fable.
True.
Anyone?
I think the main thing is I like the idea of being able to go out and do an activity like the milking, right, and be able to go out and get an item. But this being a quest is the completely wrong implementation of this. This should have been gathering, and it should have decreased your energy, and that should have been how you got your eggs. You basically exchanged time for eggs, and I feel like this is a really big oversight in the fact that it's just a repeatable quest. I don't know.
I go on the central market and I put a pre-order in for eggs, and even sometimes there's a surplus, and anytime I'm negative on eggs, I just buy them.
Yeah, I sell my eggs to the marketplace. I don't even use them for anything now.
So, if people want to go chase chickens around.
I eat eggs every morning for breakfast in real life.
6? With the yolk?
What?
With the yolk?
The whole ass egg. Minus the shell. Sometimes I don't eat the shell.
They give that a little crunch, I hear. I don't know. I feel like this is another one of those ideas where it's like so close. It's so close to something that could have been cool for the game. And and like you said, you can buy eggs off the marketplace, but I think there should be an alternative to that, if people just want to self-produce everything.
No, I don't think this is cool. I don't think it's close. I think there should be a patch of cows, just like there is a patch of sheep. And when you kill those cows, you get red meat and you get milk, and then when you kill the patch of chickens, you get bird meat and then you get eggs. And you can do it passively, or you can go out, spend energy and do it. The milking cows is one of the worst fucking things in this game, even though they buffed it to make it reasonable to put in some stopgaps. If you're not willing to do Valencia meals and Balanos meals like me, I'll still go out and milk a cow every once in a while. But if I could just go kill some cows and hit it with a butcher knife and get some milk, that would be fucking great. It's a video game. It'll be okay. Just like any other version of gathering. So, I'm not chasing chickens and I hate milking cows, but I'm willing to milk cows because I run out of milk pretty fucking often. And I appreciate that they give me other opportunities to make milk. I still have a hole in my supply chain with that, but the eggs thing is close enough if you have both of the nodes running and you keep your game on 24/7 where you barely ever have to buy eggs.
I think that chasing chickens would be fun if they laid golden eggs that turned into 100 Kaffir stones.
I mean, another version of this could just make into AFK processing, right? You go up and you milk a cow, and then you just AFK process on the cow, and then you can just
for like 10 hours? You're just milking a cow for 10 hours? Have you ever milked a cow IRL, dude?
Yes.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
Why?
But I mean, like, I think there's other solutions that can be somewhat more immersive to the game experience that BDO's core experience, either gathering, processing, whatever. And that could be for eggs too. You can make where you can do AFK eggs, and your character just walks around in the field picking up eggs or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think that the idea of having another way of providing eggs to the player that is not from a node, I think is good, right? I think I would like to see something where it's not a quest, but just an activity in BDO similar to going out and gathering meat, right? I think we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. Weird.
BDO, you guys want to? Is there anything else for updates that we've received already? Not Global Lab stuff, but we've received already that you guys want to talk about?
Dude, I'm trying to think. There's a lot of shit in the past few weeks. Not this week, but a couple weeks before that.
Yeah, there was. We got we can mention some of the events here. We got 50% drop rate. We got the fluttering snowflakes again. Cozy warm fires. And there was a few other minor events. I think they've released like 3 new costumes, if I'm not mistaken, and family inventory space.
Oh, did you guys buy any space for the family inventory?
Or
I haven't even unlocked mine. I could give a fuck about family inventory,
dude. It's so useful. The more I use it, the more I want to buy more so that I can use more.
Right, so I'm not going to unlock it because I'm not going to buy anymore. I'm not going to spend money on that shit.
I am. I'm going to spend lots of money on it.
He's being sarcastic.
Okay.
No, you should see my family inventory.
What do you have in that?
I've spent more money on family inventory than I have on like the last 18 months of my spending in BDO combined on everything is less than what I've spent in family inventory in the last 2 weeks.
Bullshit.
I didn't believe that. What do you have in there?
We stopped buying crons and artisans and all that shit.
Okay, all right.
Family inventory. I got all my scrolls in there. I got my food in there. I got my pet food in there. I can finally have more than 192 slots on my warrior. Have you seen my warrior's inventory? If I don't have at least 400 inventory slots, I cannot keep track of anything in this game. The family inventory is honestly rescuing me.
I will say that I was considering buying the weight expansion just so I can put all my grilled bird meat over there and I can use that on any character. But that's really the only thing I can possibly think to use it.
So they came out with inventory slots. You can expand the inventory slots on your family thing.
They came out with weight. They came out with weight is what they came out with last week, not this week, but last week. So you can buy weight now. I forget how much you can buy. I think it's like 300 LT or something. Let me check.
It's a lot, bro. You can fit so many. Honestly, it's all the scrolls. It's my fucking blessed scrolls, my 530s, my loot scrolls, my other kind of loot scroll, my event loot scroll, my combat XP scroll, my event combat XP scroll. Like there's so many scrolls everywhere on all my alts, and now they're just in one tidy location.
That's true.
And
that would be
nice.
I am thinking about buying the 300 LT though, because 300 LT will be plenty.
You can put your red battlefield seals in there. You can put your node war medals in there. You can put all kinds of random shit in there that's not even like relevant to your alts. It's amazing. I don't know how they decide what goes in there and what doesn't, but I just shove everything in there now.
And when you buy your inventory weight, make sure you use code MorelandTV for 5% off.
Like, I'm just saying that inventory has saved me way more time and silver than fucking buying cronstones has.
I will be honest with you though, I just leveled all my characters up to professional processing, and I had to run every single one of them over to Rock Post so I can get stuff out of Valencia Bank, because I had my life EXP scrolls there. That's where they were. So I had to get everyone and walk them over there, and that's how I got their processing leveled up.
Couldn't you have just move them to Velia or Heidel altogether?
The life EXP scrolls?
Yeah.
I don't know if can you transfer things from there? Maybe, but I just walked them over anyway. I just watched them over one by one.
No, like just okay. So if you want to do it that way, just take one character, grab all the scrolls, and then bring them to Velia.
Yeah, that would have been smarter. Yep. I actually found out I had more in Heidel, but I didn't know that at the time.
I don't know how to have a conversation with you. Let's move on.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I was trying to buy some time to see if there was anything else we mentioned we didn't catch update wise.
You walked every one of your alts to Shakatu.
Well, I didn't. I already half my characters had professional processing on them, so I had only walked maybe six.
Instead of just getting one and moving them to a more central
Listen,
location.
all right. Do every single one of your characters have professional one processing or professional one cooking or artisan gathering on them? All my characters have that.
All of my characters.
My
have
methods might not be
cooking.
convenient or conventional, but they get the job done. All right. They get the job done. I was very bored on my Infinite stream, all right? I did a lot of stuff. We're currently trying to get 10,000 family fame so I can have 2,000 free VT on my central marketplace.
You're the reason I drink.
All right, let's go to Global Labs. Global Labs has a lot of things that are on the way eventually. So they have some crazy stuff on here, though. So there's an update coming. It's called Elvia's Realm. It used to be called Hadum's Realm.
Why'd they rename it? What's the lore behind Elvia?
Elvia is like another location. It's like an alternate realm or something like that. I guess. So,
Okay.
I think
Isn't that what Hadum was?
Yeah, that's Hadum was named after the dark god who, had his own realm. Who the fuck is Elvia?
Well, Hadum is one of the gods in the realm.
Hadum had a
Sylvia.
gender change.
So there's several different people who have power inside that area. Hadum was one of them. And so the area that they're talking about is Hadum's influence has taken over Serendia. Hadum's influence is not over all the other areas yet. So that's why they wanted to make that separation, call it something different, I guess, because the actual land is called Elvia, or the realm, or whatever it is. I don't know the full lore.
I was worried they weren't gonna. Yeah, I was worried they were gonna pick that up. I'm happy about that.
I still can't remember what the realm that we're in is called, but I know that the other one's Elvia now.
What is the world of BDO called? Does anyone know?
Azeroth. It's Azeroth.
Oh, okay.
Wait, that you gotta be joking. Is that real? I don't know.
It's
kind of a weird coincidence that the Korean name of this game just happened to translate into Azeroth.
I don't know. It happened in New World and in was it World of Warcraft now? Both of them have used it, so I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I have no idea when you guys are being serious or not. My sarcasm detector is just not there, bro.
Did I really already convince you that New World's planet was called Azeroth too?
No, they use Azoth as their power source.
Yeah, which kind of sounds like Azeroth because it starts with Az and ends in Oth. They just dropped.
Well, the thing is, it's a real material. It's on Earth. It's a real material that you can actually get on Earth.
It's not on Earth. It's on Azeroth.
And the developers are basically taking this idea and then turning it into other creative elements. That's why you have the same. That's why you have a similar name for it in World of Warcraft and in New World and BDO.
You talking about Azurite?
Yes, and that's what they're using that same name, and that's the material.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is it in BDO? Oh, right, the territory. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, Global Lab. They originally added 3 necklaces, but they removed one of them. And they turned. So anyway, now there's 2 necklaces, and then there's the third necklace got removed, and the item they replaced it with was an item that adds 150 HP to all the good necklaces in BDO. I think there's a few of the greens and blues that doesn't add to. But all the ones that are relevant in BDO, you can add 150 HP to. Which is really cool. There's 7 grind spots total that have been updated. I can't remember everything. There's like all the grind spots are 260, 270, or 280. There's a 3-man grind spot that's Castle Ruins. There's a 2-man grind spot which is Altar Imps, and then I think all the other ones are solo grind spots. I'd have to go back and check. They each have their own unique mechanic, and the 2 necklaces. One is at pin is 31 AP, I believe, and 52 accuracy. So compared to Deboreka, it is a bad AP to accuracy conversion, but compared to Ogre Ring, it's a decent AP to accuracy conversion. So it's gonna be curious to see what the community decides to do. I think long term it's a bad item, but short term maybe it's a good item. It's hard to say.
I think it's pretty good long term. Like the only people it's bad for are people with pin. Even compared to Deboreka, it's pretty good. I was looking at it last night, trying to figure out how I'm going to get more accuracy, and I think it's a decent choice. It's all going to come down to what the market value of the item is.
The other necklace to add is a Binchos with, I think it's 2 more DP, and it's yellow now. It's a yellow grade. I think it's 2 more
DP. A
DP.
shy necklace.
Yep. So it's the current. It'll be the new best in slot for defense builds. Binchos is currently the best one. I mean, Ardent Sistles, I guess, is arguable. I think the thing that's really interesting here is the HP added onto necklaces, because that really increases the value of other necklaces. I don't think 150 HP is a lot, but I'm wondering if they'll make it where you can stack maybe a few of these on something, and that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, it's a Eye of the Runes ring necklace. We don't need to get super carried away with that.
Yeah, but you can just pick any necklace though. That's the thing.
You can just put it on any. Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yep, it's like a Garmoth heart, but for any necklace.
Neat.
It doesn't change the grade of the item. It's still yellow grade, which that was interesting. Maybe they'll change that. I don't know.
I like stuff like that. The only thing I really don't like about like Garmoth and stuff is the drop rate's fucking dick.
Yeah, it's
hard being able to enhance your gear like that with a substantial silver investment. It's just kind of that incremental growth, and I think that's a pretty good thing. That's what kind of sets apart. Like, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but if you've been playing this game for a long time, having all these Garmoth hearts and additives to your gear and stuff like that really adds up.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. This was a really cool update that they did. By the way, Hooddoom or Sylvia or Elvia or whatever they're calling it is out on Korea. So that's actually out in Korea now and being played by the Koreans. So we'll have to see that. I guess they assume it's done now. It seems kind of rushed because I played the Global Lab update and none of the mechanics are working. The items weren't added to the game yet. All the grind spots weren't balanced. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're done. Here you go, Korea. And it just seems like we didn't get to playtest that. So
they'll figure it out. I mean, they always do that with grind spots. They released Stars In, and Distortion wasn't even in the game for like a month. Like, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. So looking forward to seeing what comes of that. Hopefully they'll do some more iterative changes to it. This was a really cool update though. They did there's now Super Armor, Chrono Guard, and Invincibility indicators in the game that you can turn on and off. This allows you to basically see when you're doing an ability. There'll be like a little icon by your head.
This is going to do 2 things. First thing it's going to do is infuriate people when they realize how little of some of their animations actually have super armor on them. Mm-hmm. That's because they did this in Shadow Arena. They added like a blue glow in Shadow Arena when you have super armor, and all that did was elucidate the fact that half your abilities that say super armor had like a 0.2 second super armor window on like a second and a half of animation, and that's why you were constantly getting knocked down. So that's the first thing it's going to do, is it's going to show you how shitty some of your super armors actually are. Looking at you, Gravedigger. And then the second thing it's going to do is make it even more frustrating when you desync, because you're going to be able to very clearly see that, yes, you were in fact in super armor when you got knocked down by that Sork, and get fucked. Download a better VPN.
I think some people are going to be really surprised because a lot of people assume the Sork iframe ends after the Sork lands, and it actually continues through the entire animation of her swinging the scythe. So I think a lot of people are going to like that. That's something that took me a long time to learn. I once I learned that, I was like,
I thought you were going somewhere else with that. I was getting worried for a second.
No.
I mean, memes aside, this is like actually an excellent change that we've needed for years. I just hope that it like works.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna make it where it's gonna be obvious the things that are poorly managed in BDO. I mean, that's a lot of things that a lot of the reason why a lot of things are so bad in BDO is because they didn't have the clarity on them initially. The players gave feedback, and then like we got like AP brackets and stuff like that, you know, or what was the things called back before after AP brackets? I can't remember what it's called. Renown, yeah. We had like Renown, and so there's a lot of things like that there was miscommunication between the players and the developers and node wars and like how classes have each of their own balance versus each other class, and it's like all this mystery and vels and stuff. Like we still don't know how our AP scales on our PvP abilities because there's no way of seeing it. The only way you can know is by hitting somebody with your ability.
Damage reduced.
Yeah, that's it. Like they recently buffed. I think it was they buffed one class by like Kuno Awakening. They buffed Kuno Awakening by like 17%, and they said 17% PvP bonus. And now you have like, what does that mean? Like, which abilities got And they said around 17% or something, because that means some abilities got buffed more, some abilities got buffed less, and it's the smoke and mirrors type thing that is frustrating because it doesn't allow the players to give accurate feedback in some cases, and we can feel it. We can feel it out, and maybe Big and Shiny can do a test with it, and you see HP go down by X amount. But for the general public, that's just no one's going to look at that after it's buried in Reddit. No one's going to go back and find that, and it's only a handful of people who are actually going to have that kind of knowledge. And I think this type of indicator thing is something they really need to do on a lot of things. The very next thing I hope they do after this is follow up with balancing some of the super armors people complain about, and maybe remove some or make other ones last the entire duration. I don't know. This can't be the final step, in my opinion, because this is just going to make people mad. So this can't be the final step.
It'd be excellent to pair this with better servers. I think that would be, I think this is like, as you said before, Morlin, this is going to show off a lot of their sins. And I think they'll only be able to hide behind internet connection or get a better VPN or whatever the case is for so long. When it's such a rampant and terrible, like I play an emulator game that is not for profit that receives half of what they need to stay whole every single month, and the amount of desync in the PvP in that game is non-existent. So how is one of the most wealthy developers, games, etc. in the industry not able to have any sort of consistency when it comes to their PvP, netcode, desync, all that kind of stuff? Just food for thought. I'm not complaining.
I do think this is
fun playing video.
Like many things, I feel like this is a step in the right direction. I hope they have another follow-up step to this after it's implemented into the game and to get some feedback. Let's see. They're adding a controller UI for PC. It's still under development, but it's on Global Lab. I think that is an excellent change. That's something that they've needed for a long time, to have a completely different UI for a controller. So, big fan of that. Apparently it's going to be different than console a little bit, which I guess is appropriate. Well, they did. Oh man, this happened while the whole Node War rework happened, and we didn't have a whole podcast to talk about this. Oh my gosh.
Has it happened? Once it's actually in Korea, at least, then I'll feel like it's happened. Until then, I mean, how many iterations of this are we going to go through? Like, they've been reworking Node War for 2 years.
I'm not jumping at this. I'm not until it's in here, right? How many they had Thornwood and shit in there. This is too important for me to like do a backflip over or get really super excited about. Right? Let's have it implemented in the game, and let's, then we can have a big fucking sweaty discussion about it. And then it's going to be weeks and weeks of conversation fleshing out too.
Well,
but as far as it just being in global labs, I'm not.
Well, I'll bring up a few generic topics, and we won't have to go into them in depth because I think that the nuance of the subject doesn't matter right now. I think that's obvious, as you guys said.
I would love to pick apart the new Node War system once it's actually in at least the Korean version of the game.
Yeah.
All right, so quick overview for people who don't know what happened, just for generic information, and if you guys want to talk about any of it, we can. They basically have changed Node Wars to be to include Kama Sylvia. So there will be Node Wars in Kama Sylvia. We'll have to see if they expand it to other regions. Node Wars are being changed to Region Wars, and then basically every node will be active at the same time. So the way to think about this is Belnos might be on Monday and Thursday, and you'll have nodes. All the nodes will become active at the same time, and you'll have to either defend or attack a new one. This is the generic way of thinking about it. It's an interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting change to the game overall, but there needs to be more iteration on it, in my opinion.
I think the gating of the nodes and the times and stuff like that to specific days. So if Balanos turns out to be like the T1 zone, you have to be free on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern to play Node Wars where you're willing or capable or geared enough to play. I don't know if that's really going to age too well. We have to see how it fleshes out and what the final release is, but further restricting when you can do Node Wars may be a little weird, but that all has to do with what they do with the Merc system. And I assume after 2 years of it being a fucking disaster, they're going to do something with it. But that's a major concern from like a GM standpoint is the schedule and scheduling with current guilds. Some people only show up. You have off days, you have on days. Will it flesh in and be okay? Is it going to alienate a large portion of the PvP community and when they can play and all that kind of stuff? So that's going to be a pretty jolting thing for a lot of communities and PvP guilds, I think, at least in the early days. I don't love that.
I think that's definitely a concern. I believe that if it's fun, then people will gravitate towards the activity, and that's the main thing. Is it needs to be a fun activity with no desync and stuff, and it needs to have a reward attached to it. And actually, the reward is debatable, but it needs to have some type of accomplishment attached to it that players can feel good about, both personal and guild-wise. Anyway, like,
and then we have to consider the terrible idea outside of the planes on Kama that it is to open that up to Node Wars. I mean, just like running through there. If you've ever built a base, Marlon?
Yeah.
You want to do it in Kama? Outside of Navern Steppe?
I'm trying to think where else you
maybe Polys
could build a base,
right? Like maybe Polys might be okay.
Polyforce has spots. Tooth Fairy Cabin has a few, but not many.
Yeah, you could build stuff out in like
over by Mirmok or whatever his name is. Offentet has a huge opening.
Would be tough.
Oh man, all the stuff that's like by Faddis, like all the structures that aren't destroyable in Faddis is going to be like another southwestern Calpheon. That'll be interesting. That won't be too bad.
And there's plenty of openings over at Ash Forest where the mobs sit, because those crystals will probably despawn.
I guess so. Where it's really thick with forest, it's kind of weird for watches.
I definitely think like Monchum Forest, like area up to like Lemuria Guard Post, that's gonna be a mess. Like I just can't think of any spot you could even place one hardly. Or maybe you can place a peg.
We can put pegs up in the Voltara Mountains.
Oh, dude. Be like Valencia, the western part of Valencia. But the other side of that is Navern Steppe is probably the one place I've wanted to Node War the most, because it's like a safe zone-less Balanos, basically. It's going to be good. That's
such a cool area, dude. I wish that they would revamp the mobs in that region at some point.
Yeah, I want Featherwolves to be a full rotation, or maybe something new. You want something new? I don't know.
I guess now that I'm looking at the map, that's not going to be as bad.
I definitely think the
thought.
Montrum Forest area
It's
seems
fast.
like complete garbage, though.
Right, but like Shady Tree down in there, Lemuria Towers, that'll be okay. Lake Flonder will be okay. Central Lemuria Camp will be meh. You know, the northwestern part will be fine with some elevation. Z-axis in this game sucks, but Valterra Mountains and stuff's going to be bad.
Guyfin Rossia node is going to be the most crazy node ever, bro.
Oh my god.
I can't even imagine how that's going to work out.
I know a streamer that used to be on this podcast that loves that area. Probably start a guild of only node warring in Guyfin Rossia.
To go over some more of the generic stuff, they're adding Kama Sylvia to it. It's the entire region goes to war. All nodes, you can fight over all nodes in the region. So every single node will either be a forward operating node or it'll be a starting node. There's basically two different ones. So there's going to be a set number of starting nodes, and then there's going to be other ones that can only be captured if you already own a node. So they're like a forward operating base. And this means that you can have multiple bases. So this means you can have one base that's a cannon base, one base that's a horse base, one base that is pure defense base, one that's a respawn base. You could have different bases, and you can capture up to 10. So it adds a lot of diversity and strategy to it. I have no idea how this is going to work out at all.
So are you in game, Potion?
I'm in game right now.
Okay, pull up your map if you can.
Yep.
So in the upper right-hand corner, you go to Node War Information.
Mm-hmm.
And then go up to Balanos, just for ease, right where Kron Castle is.
Sure.
So if you click on Kron Castle site, Eswa Hill, Forest to Plunder, and Heidel Pass, it's all that same area that's oddly in the shape of Africa, actually. And then when you move over to Coastal Cave, it's like the other half of Balanos.
Sure.
So my question is it going to be are we going to be playing on the Balanos Territory War map, which is a little bit different than this? And then these are just going to be like where you build your base. Like, how is that? Because you can't have 4 active nodes that all operate off the same chunk of land.
Yeah, so I think there's probably going to be a rebalancing that happens with that kind of stuff. But for example, if you go up to Coastal Cliff, that's not a node war territory right now. You can't capture it. And so that will be like a forward operating base to the new system. And the reason we know this is because they had different screenshots, and they explained that some of them were starting locations, and they listed how many starting locations there were in each territory, but they didn't tell us what nodes they were, I don't believe. And I think that's all subject to change, so that's the nuance of that doesn't really matter.
Right, so the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot to consider here, and I hope that the reason that they've taken so much time with this is because they are trying to execute it as best to their ability as possible, and they've thought about things like having all of these nodes operate at the same time and how that interacts with themselves, and is a guild ever going to be able to get out of a territory and stuff like that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. This is why I don't want to dive too much into it right now, right?
Is this going to fix the way this is structured, the way you lock into certain regions and whatnot? Is this going to fix siege guilds dropping on like T2s and like pug stomping, or?
It depends if it locks you out. So if you play on tier 3s right now, does it lock you out tier 2s?
No, I don't think so.
So it would only lock you out tier 1s is my understanding right now, right?
Yeah.
So the only region that'll be protected for new players will be Balanos. That'll be underneath the current system. But like, I guess my point that I'm trying to bring up here is that they're trying to schedule different days, and you have to, this is the question you have to ask yourself: can an alliance allow guilds to take more territories? And if the answer is yes, then you have a flawed system, because that is the current system that we have. And so you could have 25 members on Balanos, or we'll say 25 members on Serendia, 25 members on Medea, 25 members on Caltheon, and 25 members on Kama Sylvia, and have a huge alliance and still own 10 territories in each of those regions.
No,
and
that's not smart.
That obviously would be a huge coordination challenge to make that happen, but it still doesn't solve the problem where new guilds have to join an alliance and get all their members siphoned up the power pole up to stronger guilds as time grows. And right now the problem is in current BDO is that new guilds get all their members siphoned off into these bigger guilds, and they can't grow their guild into a competition.
Okay. Hold on, buddy. This is why I don't want to do this. Let's wait for this to actually come out. As Moreland said, at least in Korea, before we start like creating problems when we don't even know if the parameters for those problems to exist are even there.
Well,
so
just the reason chill. The way they're doing right now is they're doing 2 or 3 node wars a day, and then have one day to do all of them. Correct. So like for example, this is an example. Monday might be Belnos, Serendia, and Caltheon. And then Tuesday might be Medea and Valencia. And then next day might be Belnos and Kama Sylvia. So the idea is that if you took an territory in Kama Sylvia and you took one in Belnos, you would not be able to defend it because there's 2 different days to defend.
I think the entire point of this entire thing is once you are in a territory, you're locked in a territory. I think that's what it's supposed to be, if I read it correctly. I could be wrong. Again, really like just to wait for this to flesh out a little bit longer before we dig any deeper.
You're not, to answer your question though, you're not locked into a territory. You do have to own territories in that region before you can go for the siege. You can't go to siege unless you own an area, a node in that territory, but you're not locked out of it. I guess.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, for sure. It's an iterative process. The big thing here is that they made it where it's a region warfare. That's the big news here, and that all nodes will be active, and that's all subject to change, of course. But that's how they're currently doing it. The other thing they added is once you successfully capture a starting node or like a foundation node or whatever they're calling it, you actually have an NPC that appears at your home base. And this NPC will sell you a Caphras box for really, really cheap. Gives you like 50 Caphras for, I think, 75 million. So it's a very, very good deal. They also you can buy one of each of these, by the way. You can get like a 20 stack, 30 stack, 40 stack, and a 50 stack. Every time that you complete a node, you can get one of these. So that encourages people to do this. Another thing you can buy is you can buy 2 crystals. One of them is going to be a crystal that allows you to upgrade the special defense crystal in your chest piece to a Wanban and Jin. So this is why a lot of people bought a couple weeks ago a lot of BMCs, because they're anticipating this new Wanban and Jin for a special attack evasion being added to the chest piece. The other one is you can upgrade your existing awakening crystals, and it gives them I think attack speed, cast speed, 1% attack speed, cast speed permanently.
Oh god, are those actually going to be good? Got to redo my crystals again.
Maybe when it comes out in like 9 months from now. So those are there was one more thing in there. I can't remember what it is though. Those are the big changes for Node Wars though, especially the crystals. The crystals are going to be the crystals and the fel stacks are going to be the main driving force, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like we have that conversation pretty often here, where like the fun of PvP should be the reward of it. But if they want to give you some 20 or 30 or 40 stacks, or you can buy a Caphras, if you're successful as a team, everybody benefits from it. I'm good with that. I think that builds camaraderie, and I think what really misses the mark right now is guild identity. Being a part of a guild really holds very little value, especially when you have like Merc leaderboards and stuff. It's probably more notoriety if you just Merc out and get a bunch of kills and move around and stuff like that. So being rewarded for staying within a guild was one of the reasons I hated building a siege guild from the ground up, because it just really didn't exist. So if they're thinking in those terms, that's a step in the right direction.
That's about it. Obviously, they're going to go through a lot more changes, and I do not think this fixes all the issues, but I do think it does one thing very, very important, which is it actually inspires players to try PvP again and Node Wars again. And I think that's something we haven't had for a long time in BDO, is something that actually inspired people to try pick up BDO for PvP again.
I'd maybe go with curiosity over inspiration, but
sure.
I applaud your enthusiasm.
I mean, I think that I'll go back to the hope thing. There's a lot of things that I have a lot of hope for, and it's just a matter of if they deliver on them or not, right?
Fair enough. No, if there's anybody who has hope in Node Wars being revitalized and fun again, and from doing them for 4 years, winning all the territories, doing all that stuff. It's me. I want this to be changed up, different, and challenging in a way that's, balanced and not oppressive, which it has been oppressive this entire time. So we'll see.
Moving on to the next topic. They reworked Kudum. Kudum now has a nightmare version of Kudum, and I'm pumped for this. Not because it's actually good, but because it has the first real raid mechanic in BDO. Okay. So it's just one simple mechanic. It's not crazy, but it's an actual mechanic. There's basically Kudum will be one of two different colors of energy. He's either going to be like cyan energy or like yellow energy. And based on that, he's going to drop these little clouds of energy that you have to pick up and deposit into the right side. There's going to be a right side and a left side. And the right side will be one color, the left side will be another color. And if your team does not, like everybody around there doesn't deposit on the right side, then you don't get all the rewards. I think I don't think this is going to work out very well because it's going to be a whole bunch of trolls. They're going to put in the wrong one anyway. But I'm really happy that it's a raid mechanic in BDO now, and it kind of proves that they can do it, at least fundamentally.
Isn't that a thing that they do with like rats and squirrels and stuff? Is like they reward them when they put the nuts in the right spot, and they zap them when they put them in the wrong spot?
It should just kill you if you put it in the wrong side.
The mechanic is, so this is for a public boss. There's a mechanic where you have to grab energy and go deposit in the right or wrong area.
Correct. This
is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, they've never played this game.
This is going to be a complete disaster. We can't even get people to like cannon Maraca.
I'm really curious on the balancing mechanism for it, because I want to know if it's every single server and then they all have to do it correctly, or is it like, how much freedom is it? How many times can you fail? What percentage? Do you have to get like 60% of them right, 51% of them right? What percentage do you have to have? How easy or hard is it?
That's a fair question.
Or is it like platoon based? Is it going to be platoon based? Like, are the rewards like if your entire platoon does it right, then you get a reward? I don't know.
Yeah, like if this was like a guild or a group mechanic where people are actually incentivized to work together and do things properly,
responsibility.
That sounds great. On a public boss.
I like the idea of a raid mechanic. I don't care about anything else about it. It can be a complete flop. I'm happy that this proves they can do raid mechanics. That means that they can actually.
Does it prove that?
Well, well, I guess we have to do it once and make sure it works. I guess. Good luck there. But I hope this is the type of thing they're going to put into the dungeon as a party grind spot. Because that's what I really want. I really want that type of thing in a dungeon when you're in a 3-man party, 5-man party, whatever it is. I think that's what I want to see. I want to see these not crazy hard mechanics, just like pick up an item, go deposit over there. Oh, kill that monster before he explodes, or whatever. Simple raid mechanics we find in other games in an actual dungeon. I'd be so excited if they did something like that. Anyway, the reward for this, if you actually accomplish it, is you get a special alchemy stone that gives you a unique ability. It has a 5-minute cooldown, 10-minute cooldown, something like that. But it does like the blizzard that wizards and witches can do. It's like that, but it's lightning, and so you have all these lightning bolts that come around in a huge area effect. So I think that there might be some use cases in Node Wars and Siege for that. That'd be really, really cool. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a complete mess, but it's the first thing I thought was awesome in BDO that they added in a really, really long time. And it gets me thinking, at least. Hopefully they can manage and balance it out properly.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys remember the guild's often boss, where that was like kind of had mechanics and you had to like use your match lock, and then there was like leaderboards, but then people found out a way to cheat, so then the leaderboards didn't matter anymore. But for like the first week, it was kind of cool. Any of you guys remember that at all?
Yeah, they had a shield on them. You could damage different legs.
Yeah. That was neat. I enjoyed doing that with my guilds. There's no fucking way I would ever do it with a bunch of random people. But if they wanted to like bring back guild bosses and have a leaderboard for it and like give rewards to the people who killed them the fastest, I think that kind of shit is fun. I don't think world bosses need it. That sounds like a disaster, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we could use leaderboards for that.
Here's what they need for world bosses. They need a DPS meter that is public, that everyone can see. And when you die, you get penalized on your overall score. And then whoever does the most damage gets the best loot.
Yeah.
That's how to make world bosses. Yeah, that's how you make world bosses interesting.
Or make it guild based. Make it where your damage meter is your entire guild, and it's per server.
No, fuck that.
Ah,
that's what guild bosses are for. We're talking about world bosses now.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, you have a guild boss
world
version.
Bosses should be a competition against everyone else in the server, or at least on the channel.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like that.
And it should be a flex.
Yeah, something like I don't know, like sort of like you see like a leaderboard, who has the most DPS, what your current score is.
Yeah, you ever play WoW?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, they have the whole like healing or DPS or tank damage or whatever.
Threat.
Yep.
Threat meter.
That'd actually be a really good solution as well. Maybe they'll do a guild boss variant of it, because that'd be pretty awesome. Do a guild boss variant of that.
Man, it doesn't take much to get you gassed up, does it?
Nope, not at all. I'm just hungry for anything new content at this point.
I got some content for you.
Oh yeah. Well, the next content update that we're probably getting is 6 add-ons for the Awakening. So you'll be able to choose all 6 of your add-ons for your Awakening now.
They're still the wrong skills.
We already got that. That was in this week.
Oh, that was this week? Oh, I didn't see it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it then.
Yeah, it was huge.
I need actually.
I just went to my skill thing and it wouldn't let me.
What do you mean it's the wrong skills?
I can't get my 30%. It's still like a dog shit fucking thing. I can't get a 30% unless I use a bad skill to have as an add-on. Or my T3.
Oh, no. What we're talking about is all 6 of your abilities now can be Awakening, or all 6 of them can be main hand. You can choose.
Well, all 6 of them could always be main hand, but now for Awakening, you can get 3 more Awakening add-ons instead of main hand if you want.
So it's a small buff to Awakenings, basically, especially for classes that never use their main hand.
It can be a pretty substantial buff in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to
a lot more add-ons. A lot easier to manage everything.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the subtle buffs to Awakening that Awakening needed to be more on par with Succession. I don't think it's going to fill that gap entirely, but
I still feel like Succession's that. I feel like Awakening is that they've been buffing Awakening pretty much for the last year straight.
For PvP, I think the Awakenings are insane in a lot of cases. Not all cases, but in a lot of cases. But for PvE, I think Successions still largely dominate. What do you guys think?
That's way too general of a statement to.
I did make a PvE tier list, all right?
Oh, don't even get me started.
We're going to have a 3-hour podcast about potions tier list.
I could pull it up right now.
You're really trying, aren't you? You're really trying for it.
Well, we're out of topics. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about?
There's like this whole other games thing. We could fucking talk about something else. If I see, like, I even go on Twitter and it's just tier lists of like Super Smash Brother characters or candy bars. Like everybody's pumping out tier lists that are fucking wrong and meaningless. The last thing I want to do is talk about some fucking tier list.
I think I'm going to make a BDO streamer tier list.
What's the criteria for being high or low on it?
Probably do it pretty much based entirely on headwear.
Headwear.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Find your terms.
Like hats, glasses, gamer goggles, that sort of thing.
I got a really good hat.
Yeah, I need to
To be
get
honest, this hat didn't age well. This hat did not age well at all.
Whoa. Yikes. Well, this podcast just got demonetized.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'd be interested in a headwear tier list.
Who would be number one?
You actually want to start rating streamers on this podcast? Let's go to the next topic.
What games you guys been playing? I mean, if we want to move on to our games, what's been going on that you guys been paying attention to? Isn't New World doing something?
Yeah,
Probably.
dude. Right. So they have another alpha. New World has another alpha, right?
Is it NBA again?
And it doesn't matter if you were invited in a previous thing. It doesn't matter if you've pre-ordered. It doesn't matter if you're Jeff Bezos. You just don't get in. That's basically what it is. It's basically what it is. Is out of the entire community from Aftershock that played, right? There's only one person in the Discord that is interested in replaying with all of us that has been invited. And so there's a link that went out, and you check your Amazon account to see if you're getting invited to this round of beta, or it's an alpha. It's technically an alpha.
So have they just stopped pretending like the game's going to get released? Because they had like 3 or 4 release dates last year, but I haven't heard anything since then. Since the open test where everyone was like, "Hey, this game's not that good." Like I haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, so this is supposed to be a fairly large test, I believe.
Is it alpha?
It's because everybody who pre-ordered is supposed to be in the betas, and so they're still in
loopholes.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not happy about it. Obviously, not happy about much these days, but
I feel like there's so many games that have been in alpha for 6 years. I don't even know how to keep track of them. But like Camelot Unchained, Crowfall.
Ring.
Like, are these games going to come out? I don't know.
Camelot Unchained, I don't think it's ever
coming
coming
out.
out.
Demo for Camelot Unchained the summer of 2018, where Mark Jacobs was like, "Look at this! I have 180 FPS, and there's 300 people on the screen shooting lightning bolts." Like, that was 3 years ago, almost.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. I don't know where these games are going. I think the only thing that actually has a shot of getting released anytime soon is Lost Ark and Elion, I guess. Oh, and Bless.
yeah, Elion's already out in like Korea, right?
Yeah, I think that's gonna come out this year. Lost Ark's looking pretty good.
Out.
When do you think Elion would come out? What would be like the best window to release it?
Probably Q2.
Like as a marketing thing?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
Anytime. Everybody's pretty hungry for a decent MMO.
That's true.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Shadowlands. Everyone was like super hyped on it, and I haven't heard anything recently. I feel like everyone got what they needed to get out of that and is ready to move on.
Right. It's like a WoW expansion.
They're like, "Wow, this is great," and then that was like lasted like a week.
Right. It's a WoW expansion. Like,
But an actual good one. I think that was actually good. I really kind of thought it would have more longevity, but it makes sense, I guess.
I was thinking about playing it when I got back from vacation, but then in January, like no one cared about WoW anymore, so I just didn't.
Apparently doing Burning Crusade this year.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I'm waiting for the official announcement so I can figure out if I need to re-roll a new character or not.
yeah, I'm gonna play that with Moreland.
We got a bunch of boomers that are gonna play that together, dude. We might even be able to do our own raid. We got so many boomers that are gonna be playing that.
We'll be able to do Karazhan and ZA for sure. And there's some like really good rewards that people want out of there. And I don't remember enough for it to be like a substantial benefit for me to be in there. You know, like it was 15 years ago or whatever, and I don't give a shit. So it should be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
So if I don't have to level something, that'd be crazy because that level is rough. That's a lot of questing.
My thought on this is like, are they just going to do one DLC like this per year? Like, are we going to get? I
think that's what they're trying to decide, right?
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how sustainable it is. I think probably they want to do fresh starts every like 2 years or something, and then Classic into TBC into Wrath, and then it's kind of a big question mark from there. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. The interest in Classic, I think, has already fallen way off a cliff ever since TBC was announced. And I think it's too soon for people to want to actually play a Classic fresh start. They did a poll, and it was only like 20% of people said that yes, they wanted to do that. So I think they're just going to slowly do like a year of TBC, and then or a year and a half or whatever, and then do Wrath, and then maybe just start it all over again.
I will kill my stream to raid call for a Wrath raid guild, dude. That is like the peak of my nostalgia.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who think the game peaked in Wrath.
It did. It really did. For a lot of reasons that we don't need to talk about right this second. But Ice Crown was so good. And then TOC was so good. Ulduar was amazing. Like, just all this shit was so good, man.
Maybe what they do is they just do like a 4-year cycle, and then they just do like first original release, Burning Crusade, and then next 2 after that, and then they restart again. So every 4 years you get a fresh start, and that's enough time for people to get all their.
They gotta be able to figure something else out besides just restarting the same content from 2003, 5, and 9.
I mean, that's what we would like to see, right? Like, they could make Classic a ongoing thing if they just did like hard modes for the raids and just got rid of like world buffs and the other annoying shit that makes Classic really tedious. But it's like, I feel like time needs to pass for the no changes people to realize that the game actually kind of sucks with no changes, and that there's some various obvious ones that literally everyone can agree on. And then like once the spurginess fades, then they can actually make a change or two that's good for the game, and then I think it'll become more sustainable after that.
Spurginess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the point there. There's a lot of people who they need to experience how shitty it is not to have updates on things that are really big issues.
And I get the whole no changes thing, because people didn't want Classic turning into BFA, which is absolutely reasonable. No one wants like modern WoW leaking into Classic, but that's not really what we're asking for. Like, getting rid of world buffs and raids is not like BFA invading Classic. It's just something that needs to happen so that you don't have to spend 17 hours of prep every time you want to do 2 hours of raiding.
Yeah, it's just a little bit balancing.
So mildly related, I play an emulator of Star Wars Galaxies that is specific to a patch, 14.1 pre-combat update. And there's a couple of classes that have funner versions. Like, there's a creature handler that you can play that is completely disenfranchised in 14.1. But is not in other patches. So there's like people are like, hey, so what if we just brought, the creature handler update from, this patch over to 14.1, and what if we just got rid of this, new game experience has that. What if we just creep this in here and just make like our own version of 14.1? And the devs in this have been like purists about it. They're like, if it's not 14.1 accurate, we're not putting it in the game. And I don't know if that's good, I think that there could be some quality of life things, and they've added like 1 or 2 things that apparently we're not allowed to bring up to them. And they come into streams and stuff every once in a while. But 14.1 is an excellent patch to pick, which is cool. But, if they take some things that were added later in the game, even like just graphics or whatever, it would be such a better experience. So I think if they redo, to bring it back to World of Warcraft, I think if they redo the Classic experience, they should bring in some of those like quality of life and obvious things that may have seemed like a good idea in 2004, that really didn't age well, and, just develop with a little bit of hindsight, not necessarily bring in Shadowlands to Classic.
Yeah, it makes sense, honestly. Because, I mean, it's like sort of like you're not going to make a perfect game the first time, It's like, even World of Warcraft, which has so many great parts of it, there's just little small things that you figure out, or you get tired of, or they get annoying over time, right? They just don't have good longevity.
Yeah.
When are they doing another Last Oasis reset? That's what I want to know.
That's going to be a long time from now. I wouldn't hold your breath for that.
Any other games?
I mean, I could talk about Star Wars Galaxies till I'm blue in the face, man. I'm having so much fun. I can't even believe it.
When are they going to do a Star Wars Galaxies 2?
Right. So what they're looking forward to right now, there was some duping and some like bad shit that happened. And so everybody's kind of waiting for the wipe to happen. They call it 1.0 in Star Wars Galaxies, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so good to have like a really clean, official version of the game that just has this fresh start. It's a super, super, super grindy game, and everything you do is really, really rewarded. And since the game's not like technically going to be updated, there's no way to creep that out, you know? And so it's like I feel like everything we talk about and that we want out of an MMO, you know, it's got this kind of corny Star Wars theme over the top of it, but outside of that, it's a really great community, and I have a ton of fun. I'll pop into anybody's stream, and everybody's super nice and helpful and all that kind of stuff. It's just top to bottom, you know, the MMO experience I really want. So, and it's truly fucking sandbox. There is no direction in that game at all. They don't make them sandbox like this anymore, man. They really don't. So I'm having a great time. I'm excited to get into some weird, sweaty 2003 PvP when I'm viable in 2 more months. I'm down for it. Outside of that, I picked up Apex Legends Season 8. And the problem with that for any Apex Legends fans out there is it's the original map, Kingsland or whatever it's called. And it's only that. The best map, which is World's Edge, is not available. You can't play other maps even in like pubs or whatever. So ranked, duos, trios, pubs, everything. It's all the first original map that's been updated a couple of times and is not very good. And it gets boring super fast. And so they previously used to rotate them out like every hour or so. And so if you didn't like what the map was, you just wait an hour. So they decided to go a different way with this time, which is, you know, fine, I guess. But as far as balance and stuff like that, they do a pretty good job in that game. I think it's one of the cleanest and best BR shooters, especially with so many of them like Call of Duty having problems and stuff. I think if you want just a really clean shooter experience that requires a little bit of teamwork, Apex Legends is the way to go. Sweaty ass game though, man. Sweaty ass game.
I came to the realization this week myself that my favorite game has become World of Warcraft. Destiny 2. That's actually one of my favorite games, or maybe my favorite game, or used to be. But the thing I never liked about World of Warcraft is I don't like losing my experience every year. That's the thing I just never could get into it because of that. Yep.
Yeah.
And Destiny basically does that on a yearly cycle now. And so every year I basically earn my gear, and exactly 1 year later it's worthless. And I have to regrind it all out again, and it's just I can't get behind it anymore. I'm just demotivated to play it.
Well, it's kind of like a classic, right? It's kind of like a reboot, which is kind of the best part. Like you just asked, when is Last Oasis going to wipe, right? You know what I mean? Like maybe it's just your perception of it.
Well, the thing is, if I'm going to put a lot of time into a game, the more time I want to put into the game, the more I want to have to show for it. And for games like Destiny now and Path of Exile and World of Warcraft, the more time I put into them, I don't have anything more to show for it. I might have a few more titles or a few more mounts or something, but it's just like it's not the thing I care about.
And game knowledge and stuff like that, I think is pretty. You know, being a veteran player of a game that has a hamster wheel for gear, you know, like in World of Warcraft, once you've seen the mechanics, you know the mechanics, and they just kind of recycled them, right? So you're more valuable of a player if you can recognize mechanics because you've been playing for a long time. You've got all these achievements, you've got more transmogs, right? You've got all that stuff to show off that you are that person. And I'm going to kind of buck you a little bit if you want to pretend that cosmetics from playing for a long time is not a reason to play. Like if you really love a game, you're going to want to look cool while you play it, even if you have to pay for it, which a lot of us do. So I think your mindset on that's just wrong. If you love the game and you want to keep playing the game, you get like a little bit of a fresh start on it, but you still have all this knowledge going back into it. And so you just re-gear. I think there's a different way to skin that cat.
It's just a personal preference thing, right? Some people prefer to have long-term progression and then buy cosmetics. Other people prefer to have short-term progression and the long-term progression be cosmetics. So I'm just not I'm a fan of long-term progression and I have to buy my visuals. That's how I prefer. That's how I like. Okay. That's just my personal preference on things. That's why I like League of Legends. League of Legends, despite not having any like character long-term progression or like gear or anything like that, I still get to level up my account. I get to earn different tiers of play, and it gives me different borders and stuff like that. Like I get to. There's a sense of progression there that I can get from the game, despite it not actually having any long-term progression. And
they struggled with that for a long time in the early days.
They did.
Having cosmetic progression was literally the entire end game of old school MMOs. Like,
yeah,
Ultima Online comes to mind. Like your progression in Ultima Online after the first, few months basically was just literally all cosmetic. It was how do you get cooler looking gear, how do you get like doper shit for your house, how do you get rares that you can show off. Like none of it had anything to do with making your character stronger until like years later when they added artifacts and shit. I don't know, I really miss that aspect of MMOs, like just the purely like this is cool and not a lot of people have this or have been able to get this sort of thing. I like what they did with La Warzeka in BDO. It'd be cool if there was more of that stuff.
Yeah,
one of my favorite comments on my YouTube videos for Guardian, I still play Guardian with a Gillion, and then I hide it, and I just have like my Dead God armor, and then everything else is dyed to match, and I hide all of my costumes. And my favorite comments I get in my YouTube videos is, "Whoa, my God, you look dope, dude! What costume is that?" And I'm like, "It isn't a costume, actually. It's just the straight armor." But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing is monetization ends up coming in and conflicting with that, because I think both those can exist at the same time, right? I think you can have long-term progression and you can have visual progression at the same time, but if you do that, then it's at the suffer of some type of monetization. So the only way you can really do both of those sufficiently is a subscription model. That's really the only way. And it's just not the only game that has it right now is World of Warcraft.
Final Fantasy.
And Final Fantasy, excuse me, yes.
I brought that up the other day. I was talking about Star Wars Galaxies, and I'm like, I don't know if they can make a game like this anymore. Subscription base is kind of dead. And they're like, well, Final Fantasy's doing pretty well. World of Warcraft's out there. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
I know, it's definitely a problem because they gotta make their money, but at the same time, there's a cost, when you base that around visuals or progression.
How does ESO monetize? Because they don't even have a sub, right? They just box price? Is there like a premium sub that you end up buying?
I think this is cosmetics and stuff. I don't think they do a whole lot.
They come out with expansions. There is a box price on it, and then they have expansions pretty often that you have to pay for. So it may be like an old school box price DLC thing, but I played ESO without paying monthly on Xbox. I remember that.
They might be baked in with your Xbox Live Gold, though.
Premium, not a sub. So I guess like a value pack kind of thing.
I probably should give ESO a second try. They've changed it so much since it originally came out.
It's a fun casual game with a little bit of story, but the end game is weak.
Yeah, I hear the end game is based on combat, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. That's about all I have to talk about. No.
Mario, you got anything? Shout out to SWG EMU. If you guys ever played Star Wars Galaxies, go to swgemu.com, sign up and play. And if you need help getting started, pop by the stream, and I'll be more than happy to give you some free stuff to get going. Do you guys have any special content on your channel this week, or anything you're working towards that you want to share with everybody before we end it out? Do a little selfish plug.
Probably going to be raw tapping my Kudum.
Nice.
Good luck.
And then if the
Ocean?
stacks goes well, probably going to raw tap a pin accessory.
You can find me at Potion Shop TV. I've recently made a PvE tier list. And you can check that up in my chat by doing exclamation PvE or exclamation tier list. All those work. So that's my big thing for me right now. Hopefully I'll be back to streaming next week. Be my on the right sleep cycle. So we'll see.
Me, myself, I got rid of all my sponsors and paid sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. I am just playing exactly what makes me happy on stream, which right now is mostly Star Wars Galaxies, a little bit of Apex Legends, and the obligatory BDO. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I've been super happy to get back together with you guys. It's been too long. Looking forward to next week. We're probably going to have a conversation about time and date, make sure we're all good with that. But on behalf of Borland TV, Potion Shop TV, I'm Tim Allen 1337. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Have an excellent week, and we'll see you next time.